Welcome to another deadline stream ahead of Game Week 26, and a lot of people will be wildcarding. Unfortunately, I am one of those. I activated it overnight, and all channel members and patrons had access to it. As soon as I pretty much finalized my moves, I confirmed it there, and I also have a UCL fantasy video all ready for channel members and patrons since yesterday, and I'll be releasing that very soon to the public as well. And I'll try to get a best limitless team and team selection video for match day 8 before the usual deadline stream on the Tuesday too, and the plan is to also, if possible, to do a reaction stream for FPL tomorrow after most of the games have gone by, of course. But welcome to everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going to go through your questions and comments as always, and also discuss my team selection, because I've said all week a wildcard is possible, but I also showed you my team selection, some transfer plans for me in case I didn't use the wildcard, since I covered everything there in the wildcard video. Not much has changed in terms of the team structure from that, but what has changed are the FA Cup results and also the benefits, I think, of wildcarding in my own situation. It's not going to be applicable to everybody. If you've already got 2 Brighton players or Brentford and you've already got a really solid plan up until game week 32, you could say, then you don't need to wildcard. It's not going to be for everyone, but I decided to activate the chip, make 7 changes. I might even make 1 or 2 more as well on top of this, and I'm still quite happy with this team structure as well. But thank you to everyone for tuning in. We're going to go straight into your questions, starting with Abraham. Thank you for becoming a differential. It's very much appreciated. And also to all channel members and patrons as well. So thank you, Abraham. It's good to see you join. And if you've got any questions or comments, be sure to let me know. I'll see. And of course, I'll be answering your questions as always. So thank you. Will Mahrez start? I think so. It's a really tough game against Newcastle. I don't think Mahrez is safe in the long term in FPL. I think he will have reduced minutes, as we've already seen, but I think he'll start against Newcastle. Welcome, Nick. Have a fun weekend as well. And did my transfers. What do you think? Nketiah out for Toney and Gakpo out for Matoma for a -4. That looks fairly solid. I think that obviously puts you in good stead for game weeks 27 and 29. Toney also plays in 28. I think that's a good hit to take. And Nketiah isn't guaranteed to start. Even if he does against Bournemouth, I don't think he does necessarily in the weeks to come as well. Toney, Watkins and Zinchenko in for Van Dijk, Nunez and Nketiah for a -8. I also think that looks pretty good. I don't have any problems with that whatsoever. Obviously, really good stuff there with Van Dijk. He got a mega haul in game week 25, and I think Nunez and Nketiah are standard sells at this point. Nketiah was a good option maybe a month or 2 ago, not anymore. Yeah, I have made my transfers. It's a wild card though. I was looking at it because I was still deliberating throughout most of the week and saying, okay, let me just make my transfer just in case. And when I looked at it, I'm like, I just don't really like the look of this for game weeks 26, 27 and 28. But yes, I have done them. Could we have a poll on who is wildcarding? I do have one on my channel, but I can put one here as well if that's what people want to see as well. Let's see if I can do it from here, because it is a bit iffy from this browser. So, are you wildcarding in... Yeah, how are you wildcarding in Game Week 26, we'll put. If you've got any other ideas for polls, by the way, let me know and I'll put them here, because it might help you with your decision making more than I would, just because you can see the general opinions of other people. But I will also say, back your gut and don't just rely on the opinion of others as well. Later in the season, we'll put something like that. So yeah, are you wildcarding in Game Week 26? Yes, or later in the season. Something simple like that. Maybe the wording isn't the greatest, to be fair. Toney's situation of his suspension, nothing's really changed since what I said a few days ago. I covered the latest information there. He put out a press release, a PR statement, saying that he's surprised about the situation, the fact they got leaked once again. But really, we're not going to find out anything because we don't know when the suspension, or shall we say when the hearing is. After that, a suspension can be issued. But my guess would be after the international break. Of course, it could be around that time, so Game Week 29. But I think for the time being, he's safe. Martinelli captain, yeah, I do like that, to be fair, against Bournemouth. He hasn't actually scored against them before in 3 appearances. He's got 1 assist. I remember that game where he set up Saka, I believe, in the FA Cup. And this was in the first game, I think, actually. One of the first few games for Arteta. So, yeah, I think that's pretty decent. But his overall record maybe isn't the best. I think Odegaard could be the one against Bournemouth. And obviously, he got a 16 points in the last one. Yeah, it is a wild card squad. I'll be honest, I didn't want to because I've seen the amount of people doing it, and I've tried to not look at any other teams. I don't want to be influenced by other people, but unfortunately, just planning ahead for the next 6 game weeks, I think this wild card puts me in good stead. And I'm looking to bench boost in 29. I discussed this in my team selection video, even if I wild card now or in 27 or whenever. But I really optimize that bench boost because I can also bring in Man United players like Bruno Fernandes or Luke Shaw in 29. And if I decide not to go for Bruno, I can have Maddison and then bring in Haaland and have him on top of Kane in Game Week 30. So I've got some transfer plans set out already. I can show you briefly later in this video using FPL.team. I'd highly recommend that website as well to visualize your future weeks as well. Davis against Wolves and Nottingham Forest at home, or Burn against Nottingham Forest away? It's a good question. Davis is someone I was considering actually on the wild card. I think he's a decent choice, but I would rather have a second Newcastle defender. If it's a triple up in Newcastle with Burn, then no, I'd go for Davis. But if it's just a double up, you've got Trippier and you want someone like Burn or maybe Share or Botman, I'd rather go for the Newcastle defender. I'll be honest, Burn isn't my favourite, but there's not much to separate all of them anyway, with the exception of Trippier, of course. Isn't it worth it if I keep Salah? Yeah. I mean, look, Salah's been in great form. Let's not forget, he's got 3 returns in his last 4 games, did really well in the Champions League as well. And I think Liverpool have improved. They're still a bit shaky, and I don't think they're that great compared to last season, but they still look much more competent than they have done in months gone by. So I think Salah's decent to keep for now, but I have to say, facing Man United now, blanking in 28, and then a kind of relatively mediocre double in 29, which, to be honest, the only reason I would keep Salah is for that Chelsea fixture in 29. Then quite frankly, I think I'd rather go for Harry Kane and then ultimately Bruno Fernandes later on. Thank you, Ronak. I appreciate that. And if you've got any more questions or comments, then let me know. Best goalkeeper options, not Kepa or Raya. I'd say Sanchez is up there. Ticks a lot of boxes. Having said that, he doesn't play in Game Week 28, and he also isn't the greatest in terms of bonus points or saves. So really, apart from Kepa and Raya, I would say Pope and then probably Sanchez. But if you go for both of those, you need someone playing in Game Week 28. And I think Nick Pope would do the job for you there. But I'm not. It's just completely up to you there. But yeah, I'd say Pope and Sanchez. Let me know your thoughts on that. It depends. It's all team dependent, really. If you've got a trip up in Liverpool, you don't have that many Brentford or Brighton assets, and you're not that well set up for Game Week 29 for the bench boost potentially, or for Game Week 28, you've got players like Tarkowski, you don't have the best captaincy option that week in Harry Kane. If you've got some situations like that, then I think it could be worth the wild card, but it's not absolutely necessary. I've made 7 changes, and I still think maybe I could have gotten away with not using the wild card, but when I'm looking at the next 6 game weeks and beyond, I feel the best solution for my situation is the wildcard, but it doesn't mean it's the case for everybody watching this video as well. Start March or Henry? I'd rather start Solly March, I think. Castagna or Dyer? Dyer. As bad as Spurs can be, they still have a better defence than Leicester, which goes without saying. Welcome, Juntao. This game week is going to be a spicy one. It will be, and I think maybe the time we decide to wildcard, whether it's now in 27 or late in the season, could determine, some huge swings, some green arrows, red arrows, whatever it may be. So let's wait and see what happens. 2 from Brighton or 1 plus Maddison. Ultimately, it'd be Maddison plus Mitoma/March, but for game week 26 and 27, especially with a look at that double game week coming up, I would probably go for March and Mitoma. Having said that, though, I'm probably going to bring in Maddison in game week 28 or 29. So, yeah, it just really depends on what you want to do. Do you want to book in transfers? Do you want to tackle this double game week as well next week too? Sky Sports recon the Toney hearing is in April, should be safe in the short term. Yeah, I actually didn't see that. So if that's the case, then he's going to be fine up until, you'd say, April, May. And I could definitely see him serving a part of his suspension during the summer. If it's like a 6-month ban, which was reported, he could serve a few months there already in the summer. Is it worth going for Iheanacho instead of Kane to cover Maddison because I want double Arsenal and Brighton attack? I like Iheanacho. Whenever he starts, he does pretty well, but I have to say, I'd still rather go for Harry Kane if he can. And also, with an eye to game week 28, where he faces Southampton, he's got a great record against them. He is the best captaincy option on paper for me in that week. But I can understand if you want to go for Iheanacho too, but I'd just rather go for Kane if it is possible. I want double Arsenal and Brighton attack and Mbeumo instead of Toney to be differential because Toney's ban could happen. Yeah, as we covered, with Toney, we just don't know. And for the time being, I think he's safe, and I'd rather have Toney than Mbumo. But Mbumo does have a high ceiling on occasion. He can get these 12 pointers too. And I can understand if you want to go for a double up in Arsenal and Brighton attack, so be it. I'm doing the same right now. Ultimately, I will get rid of March or Matoma 28 for Maddison, or maybe even 29. But yeah, that looks pretty solid. As for Iheanacho or Kane, I'd go for Harry Kane. Best fixture to captain a player? Best fixture to captain a player, if you mean triple captain, then I'd be looking at a double game week such as 34, 37, and you could even use it in 29 if you don't, use a bench boost or something else like that, or a wild card. And look, if you aren't using anything in 29, I'd say triple captain Rashford in 29. In terms of this week, who's the best captain, I'd say it's between Saka and Erling Haaland. Rashford is a bit behind just because Liverpool have improved recently, but Rashford could do a similar job that Vinicius did just a few weeks ago. I wouldn't be too surprised if that happened. Maddison or Odegaard to start on the wild card? I think I'd rather go for Odegaard, but I can see why people are going for Maddison, and that Southampton fixture looks really promising too. I think it's quite close. With Harry Kane, I'm not expecting huge returns in 26. I think he might get a goal, 6 to 8 points in Game Week 26, but the main captaincy for Harry Kane for me is in Game Week 28, not 26. And as for Erling Haaland, early kickoff, that does put me off a little bit. Facing Newcastle, who have been off form, but they have got most of their key players back, and I think they can at least cause problems to City, and they could limit them in terms of the amount of goals they score. Historically, City have a great record against Newcastle, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. A lot of games at home have been 5-0, even last season with the same managers involved, but it is a bit of a different situation right now, and I think Arsenal will score 3 or 4 potentially against Bournemouth, and if that's the case, I think Saka could do really well. Well, to be fair, I think you say it yourself. Spurs are not reliable, and yes, they have kept a few clean sheets recently, but they could easily go and lose to a Wolves in 26, and also in the next few weeks they could beat Southampton but concede 1 or 2. They've done it in the past as well, and look, I've said it before, Spurs defenders are decent on the wild card. Davis is probably the best of a relatively bad bunch in FPL, but yeah, look, I don't think you have to go for a Spurs defender. And ultimately, the reason why I'm not going for it, Ben-Mee and Estupiñán have doubles in 27. Zinchenko has great fixtures and Arsenal have a better defence than Spurs. And also Trippier and Botman have a double in 29. And Newcastle are the best defensively all season. So just there's not really a space for that Spurs defender for me. I don't think I need to have that. Who's the best captaincy pick? Kane, Haaland, Saka or Toney? You can see on screen, I've gone for Saka, but it's between him and Haaland for me in terms of captaincy. Saka or Martinelli captain? I think I'd go for Saka still. I'm not saying Martinelli will be benched. I don't think so. But there is the odd chance that maybe a Trossard or Martinelli's benched, Nketiah comes in and they kind of rotate and put a strong team out for the Europa League. Gabriel or Zinchenko? That's something I have thought about. There's a lot of 50-50 decisions on the wild card or with free transfers. Gabriel's going to be more nailed on and safe. He's not injury prone, I don't want to jinx it, but Zinchenko's the one that you could fear could miss out a game due to illness or because he's ill, something happens to him. He's missed quite a few games this season, and for Man City, got plenty of injuries. In terms of captaining Martinelli, I don't mind that, but as I said before, he's got 1 assist in 3 games against Bournemouth. Not a particularly great record, and I would favour Saka or Odegaard this week. Having said that, Martinelli is combining really well with Trossard, and in the last few games, Martinelli is the best Arsenal asset, but I'm still concerned about his minutes, and there's a few other concerns I would have about him in the long term too. But then again, if you're wildcarding right now, you don't necessarily need to care too much about that. Have Martinelli for this week, bench him in 27, maybe play him in 28 as well, then ultimately sell in 29. Did you consider doubling up on Brentford defence? Yeah, they've been very solid in recent months, but I'm not going to go for a double up in Brentford defence. I think Newcastle is what I would rather have. Yeah, that is true. Pinnock is 0.6% owned, but I would still rather go for Rico Henry, and Ben-Mee is still my preference of those 3. But yeah, it's not a bad idea to double up on their defence. Having said that, though, with the fixtures in mind too, it's not that good enough for me to double up on their defence. I'd rather... I mean, I say that, I've got Raya in goal, and that's what I'm doing, and I think that's what I really want to maximise. I'd rather have Raya, basically, than Pinnock or someone else like Rico Henry. Thoughts on Kane captain? I don't think he has a particularly high ceiling this week. I think he'll score a goal potentially, but 6 to 8 points is what I would, predict there. I could be wrong, of course. Wolves and Spurs has sometimes, caused some surprises in years gone by. There has been some goal fests as well, but I wouldn't necessarily expect it this week, so I wouldn't captain him. Start Raya or Ward this week? I would rather go for Raya. I don't trust Leicester at all defensively, even if they're playing Southampton. Martinelli or Odegaard captain? I'd rather go for Odegaard. I think just looking at the way Bournemouth play, what happened the last time these two teams met, Odegaard was the one unlocking the defence with 16 points. And with Martinelli, look, I think he can do really well, but I'd just rather have more confidence in Odegaard this week. It's more of a gut feeling than anything else because statistically, Martinelli is superior. Gabriel Ben White or Gabriel Zinchenko? Gabriel Zinchenko. I'm going to try not to go through spam comments. You think Brighton defence is better than Spurs? That's a good question. I think it's quite close. The reason why I'm going for Estupinian is for the doubles, and not only that, I also think he has a higher ceiling. He's got the assist and bonus points potential, and if you look at his returns in the last 6 or 7 game weeks, he's been very consistent, one of the most consistent defenders in FPL, so that's why I'm going for Estupinian, and honestly, I think it's quite a similar level, Brighton and Spurs defensively, but what I would say is that I don't see Brighton conceding 3 or 4 goals in a game, which Spurs have done on occasion, even in the last few weeks, against Leicester, for example. Why keeping Kepa? Decent double, I'd say, in 29. I know they're facing Liverpool, but they did keep a clean sheet, remember, just a few weeks ago. And with Kepa, yes, I'll be honest, he's not ideal. Thiago Silva is out for a few weeks and months. You've also got Mendy coming back. They could maybe share some minutes potentially, which would be quite strange, but you never know. It has happened in the past. But I still think Kepa's a good option. He's probably in the top 4 still in terms of goalkeepers. And would I go for Nick Pope? No, I've got the double up in Newcastle already. And it doesn't make sense to go for Sanchez, I think, and Raya in my situation because I'd double one, or I'd say I'll bench one of them in 27 when they have a double. So yeah, that's why I'm going for Kepa. He's still my top 4. And I think the others kind of eliminate themselves from the equation. Should I bring Emerson in for Reece James this week? I mean, Reece James is just a constant headache. I always say this. I wouldn't go for him. Emerson in. I said it just in my transfer tips video. I don't trust West Ham defensively still. And the Man United game proved it. They were 1-0 up. They should have gone 2 or 3-0 up. They ended up bottling it. And they just concede goals. I mean, look, they've got some decent fixtures where you could see them winning games. But do I see clean sheets? Not necessarily. Emerson is cheap, which, to be fair to him, is a decent kind of reason to buy him. But I'd rather go for one of the defenders you see on screen, or even a Spurs defender like Davis, to be fair. Welcome to Bench 2, White, Badiashile, Trippier, me or Ake. There's no guarantee Badiashile starts, but I think he will. I would start White and probably Badiashile, actually. Yeah, I'd probably go for the first 2. You have to bench 2, so I'd start one more, and I think it would be... It's either Ake or me. I think I'm going to go for Ake. So yeah, I'd bench me and Trippier. Time to use the wildcard. It's all different depending on your team situation. I can't say it for absolutely everybody here. For me, I think there was different arguments. I could have used it now or in 27. I would rather use it now just because I get an extra free transfer as well. And I also get a bit on early with some of these players. But honestly, there's not a right or wrong time that is applicable to absolutely everybody. Yeah, Shaw is an injured out. And he's facing Liverpool this week. Then he faces Southampton. Then a blank. I'm looking to bring him in 29. I sold him in 25. I'm not getting him on the wild card. And I'm going to bring him back in 29. Not necessarily Thivish, because I've got 10 players already in Gameweek 28, and the only transfer I need to make, well, I think 9, the only 2 transfers I need to make to get an 11 is Erling Haaland out for Watkins and also March out for Maddison, and I have a full 11, and I've got pretty much all the key assets, so actually I'm looking to free hit in either 32, 34, 37. I think that Aston Villa defenders like Mings is better than Botman. That's fair enough, but I still rather would have Botman in Gameweek 29. And I also look at Tyrone Mings. I don't necessarily need that defender to start in 26, 27 or 28, to be honest. I see what you mean. I don't trust Aston Villa defensively, though, and that's why I'm not going for Mings. March or Matoma, who to start? You can see on screen what I've gone for. I'm going for Matoma right now, but the algorithm does back March a little bit, and I can understand why. Akanji Mara starting. Mara's yes, I think he will. Akanji, I'm not so sure. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say yes, but I'm not that confident. Yeah, this is a wildcard team. Is Mbuma a good option instead of Toney? He's a decent option, but would I rather go for him than Toney? No, otherwise I would go for him myself, to be honest. Gakpo for Maddison or Felix for Iheanacho? Good question, because Gakpo and Felix, I'd have my concerns about them in the long term. I'd rather do Gakpo to Maddison. I think that's the better transfer. But I would sell Joao Felix. Would James start? No, he's confirmed out. He's a really big doubt for this week, and honestly, just sell him at this point. Martinelli valued at 6.5 would be selling for 6.2. If you don't plan on bringing him in, then Odegaard is the way. Yeah, look, I'll be honest. Martinelli versus Odegaard is one of the key 50-50 decisions this week for me. Martinelli's form can't be ignored, but looking at the opposition, I think Odegaard might be best suited for this game. And across the season, whenever Arsenal face a team in the bottom three, it's Odegaard producing a massive haul. So I'm going to probably go for Odegaard, and I think his minutes, the fact he's so nailed and gets so many bonus points and double-digit returns is what sways me to keep in Odegaard. Thoughts on Wildcard 28? Look, I've seen some different strategies such as free hitting in Gameweek 27, then wildcarding in 28, or even free hitting in 28 and maybe wildcarding just after. I don't mind that. It might be the right thing for you in your situation. I'd rather wildcard in 27, generally, but that might not be the case for you because I honestly don't know your team. It's difficult for me to say. I have wildcarded, yes. Rico Henry or Pinnock. I'd rather go for Rico Henry. I don't think any of them are particularly great offensively, and you could say the same about me, but I'd probably go for Rico Henry. The assist threat is definitely more... It's definitely there over Pinnock, that's for sure. McAllister, Mitoma? Mitoma. I like McAllister as a player, but FPL-wise, I think he's very reliant on penalties. Ben Mee or Henry? I'm gone for Ben Mee myself, so there's your answer. Is Toney risk of the gambling case? Well, eventually, yes, but right now I think he's safe. I've said this quite a few times over the last few weeks and months. Nothing has really changed. I know there's a lot of noise coming out right now, but I wouldn't expect a suspension anytime soon. If it happens, so be it. I'm in a position where I can deal with it, but I wouldn't be too concerned. Morning, Dylan. If Mitro plays, are we sleeping on him? He hasn't really been great for the last 6-7 game weeks, and Fulham's fixtures aren't that good now. Yes, Mitrovic is still a decent option, and he's not necessarily... he's not going to struggle because of bad fixtures. He is fixture-proof, I would say, but I think there are 3 or 4, even 5 better forwards right now for the next 5-6 game weeks. Selling Haaland? Not now, but I think I'll sell him in Game Week 28 and then bring him back in 30 or 31. Robertson or Andreas? Probably Robertson. Bench Felix or Ward-Prowse? I would bench... probably Ward-Prowse, but I'm not a big fan of Felix right now, to be quite frank. Play March and McAllister. March. What are you going to do in 28? I'm not going to say absolutely everything right now because that's still a few weeks away, but the plan is to bring in Maddison and also Watkins for Haaland, and potentially the other midfielder would be March or Mitoma. But yeah, 2 free transfers in 28, roll in 27. Yes, Way saying it does make sense. I think I did see it and I did reply to it. Yeah, don't copy teams, honestly, and it's just not the right thing to do. Lallana injured. I mean, he's always injured, to be fair. Heidelin is okay to -4 for Toney in, Darwin out. Yes, but I always say this with Toney. There is a risk, not just the gambling suspension, but also the yellow card suspension risk. If he gets a yellow in 26, 1 more in 27, he misses the second game in 27, no double there, and that reduces his appeal significantly, and you'd rather go for Watkins or Harry Kane, but it is a good hit. I think he'll pay off, and I don't think he gets 2 yellows in 2 games, but it is possible. Will Nketiah play? There's a chance, actually. I don't think he will, but I would not be surprised if Nketiah came in for one of Martinelli or Trossard, most likely Trossard, and then got that kind of rhythm in time for the Europa League, and then Nketiah will be benched for the future Premier League games as well, but I don't think he will start. Could make a Watkins versus Toney poll. Yeah, potentially. And look, 65% of you have gone for the wild card this week, so that's fair enough. Start Sanchez or Ward in goal. Honestly, any question involving Ward, I'm going to go for the other goalkeeper because, quite frankly, Leicester are just awful defensively, so Sanchez would be the answer. I would play Kane. I'd bench Mahrez from those two, although there are some debates to go for Mahrez instead. Thank you, Salim. I appreciate that. I already discussed the transfer plan. I'm not going to show it too much now. I might show it later on using FPL.team, but this will all be covered in the reaction stream and also, more importantly, the team selection. Ward keep or swap for Raya -4 or Gimmick 29. I think, look, I'm not a big fan of hits with goalkeepers, and with Raya, I think the main appeal or the main time to get him is right now for the doubles in 27 and 29 and then featuring in 28. After 29, Brentford's fixtures are pretty poor, so I don't think the hit is necessarily worth it in 29, to be quite frank. I think he will maybe outscore Ward by 4 points, which is what you're looking for, but I'm not so sure if it's a good move in the long term. How about captaining Watkins this week? I like Watkins at the moment. He's in great form, but I wouldn't captain him. And also, Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa has been a bit of a difficult fixture to predict in recent years. A lot of draws, and it could go either way this year. I think Villa would be the favourites, but still. I wouldn't say Fulham will be on their downfall, but yeah, I don't expect them to finish 5th or 6th, basically. I think Liverpool will leapfrog them, maybe Brighton as well, Brentford, but Fulham have done really well. You've got to give them credit, but I think they'll maybe dip a little bit. Watkins or Toney in a wildcard team, you can see it on screen. I'm going for Toney and bringing in Watkins for Gameweek 28. I think it makes sense because Ivan Toney, you'll want him by Gameweek 27 anyway, and Watkins is benchable in that game week. I just activated my wildcard. Any goalkeepers for the long term? Raya, Kepa, Sanchez, and Pope are the top 4 for me. I think Sanchez is the worst of those 4. So the way I'd rank it is probably Raya first, Nick Pope second, Kepa third, and Sanchez 4th. Me or Henry? Me. I've gone for it on screen. You can see it. Why is nobody going for Sanchez instead of Raya? For one, lower saves, bonus points potential, and points in general. I also think Brentford... I see a high ceiling in Gameweek 27 per se. I can understand what you're saying. I think Sanchez is more of a maybe season keeper because Brentford's fixtures do turn around Gameweek 31, 32. But for the next 5-6 game weeks, I'd rather have Raya, to be quite frank. You think Chelsea will win this time? I think so. Probably a 1-0 win. But then again, with no Thiago Silva, I'm less confident. Hey Dylan, thoughts on Martinelli over Odegaard? I don't mind it. I think it's quite close. I even said this before the Everton game. I thought it was a really close call. And my kind of advice to people was, if you have one of them, just stick to them. If you're wildcarding one of them in, I'd rather have Odegaard, and that's what I'm doing right now. I haven't changed my mind, but it is definitely really close. And Martinelli in recent form has been superior. Should I bench Raya and start Kepa as I have me? I'm doing the same thing. I think that's fine. All set on the wildcard, just the last spot for the defender. Not keen on going with a Newcastle defender. Already have Trippier, 1 Brentford, 1 Arsenal, 1 Brighton. Then consider a Spurs one or Aston Villa, but I'd mainly consider Spurs if you don't want to double up in Newcastle. Defensively, that's completely fine and understandable, and I'd probably go for Davis in that case. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, WB, a lot of the active community, those on Twitter, maybe YouTube, are wildcarding. That doesn't mean generally most people are wildcarding this week. So there are going to be a lot of people that are inactive or not maybe in the loop, should we say. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think a lot of teams will be similar. I haven't even seen any teams apart from those on the Discord server, and I can imagine my team will be very similar. Trent, worth holding long term, but no double coming? I think he's still worth keeping for the next 4 or 5 game weeks, but if I'm wildcarding, I'm not really going to have him in my team, to be quite frank. He also blanks in 28. So you plan to play 10 players in Gameweek 28? It would be 11 with my transfer plans, so no. Is Nketiah definitely bench player now? Well, there's no reason to change a winning formula, and Nketiah's been missing chances. Yes, he set up the goal when he came on against Everton, but Trossard and Martinelli are linking up really well, and I think with Martinelli, when he's got Zinchenko behind him inverting and you've got Nketiah up front who doesn't really link up the forward line as well as Jesus does, I think you need a Trossard up there to maybe alternate with Martinelli and cause problems to the defence. So I think Nketiah won't start many games right now. I think he might get one against Bournemouth, but ultimately I wouldn't really back him to start in general. Start Ward or Kepa? Kepa. Once again, any question involving Ward, I'm not going to go for him. Martinelli or Odegaard, you can see the answer on screen. Will you do a bench post in round 29? Whether I was wildcarding or not, the plan was to bench boost in 29, and this wildcard will facilitate that bench boost because I can also bring in United players if I fancy, heading into that period, Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes potentially. So yes, I will be talking about my bench boost team in 29. Members and patrons will see it very early, and when we get to the deadline stream in 29, you will see it. But then again, I have to say, just as a caveat, I'm going to be on holiday very soon, and it's possible that I might not be able to do any streams for a few weeks, basically. So it might be possible that I'm not going to be able to show you in a stream if that's the case, but I'll let you know, of course, as soon as possible. How did your team look like in Gameweek 28? I mean, it have a full 11, that's the main thing, and I have most of the key assets, which is very important. So the front three would be Watkins instead of Haaland, and I'd have Maddison instead of a Brighton midfielder, basically, and I'd have the 2 Newcastle defenders in for Ben-Mee and Estupiñán in the starting 11, and it'd probably be Kepa in goal as well, although I would consider Raya too. So I'd have a full 11, I have most of the key options, and I'd be pretty good as well. Who is better, Sanchez and Raya? I mean, you can see the answer on screen once again. I think Raya is definitely the better option. Yeah, I'm going on holiday for the Easter, basically, for Easter. So, yeah, ideally, I would try to get some streams and videos out, but it might not be possible, to be quite frank. But Arsenal playing Europa very soon. Rotation incoming. Like I said, if there was a game where there could be rotation, it'd be Bournemouth, but Arsenal still are prioritising the league. There's no reason to put Nketiah in just to maybe put a strong team out in the Europa League. I don't think that makes sense. I think Nketiah, if he ever starts in the next 3 or 4 games, it'll be Bournemouth. and then he will start in the Europa and be benched for the future Premier League games. I wouldn't have Nketiah on a wildcard anyway, free transfers, wherever it may be. If I have him, I'd still probably look to sell. Maddison for Rashford until 29. I can see what you're doing there. I don't mind it too much, but yeah, still. I think Rashford is captainable even in Gameweek 27, and a good option in 26. I'm looking to bring in Maddison anyway in 28, and I'm not really that fussed about not having Maddison. If there was a week I'd like to have Maddison, it'd be now against Southampton, but next week he's benchable, I'd say. You can see the answer on screen once again. I'm currently going for Saka, and I have gone for it all week. Bruno Fernandes or Mahrez out for Mitoma? Mahrez. I'd rather keep Bruno despite him blanking in 28, which to be fair, Mahrez does as well. But yeah, Mahrez out. Chilwell or Estupinian? Estupinian. Yeah, I'm not really going to back too many Chelsea players. I think Estupinian has the attacking potential as well. Chilwell did, but that was mainly under Tuchel. Mahrez to Saka -4. I think it's worth it. Mitoma March. Mitoma. I think it's fairly locked in. There's a few 50-50 decisions, such as the captaincy. Also, who to start between March and Mitoma. I think the algorithm backs March, so it is a tricky one. And anything else? Maybe a few like Zinchenko versus Gabriel. Maybe Botman versus Cher. I think Cher has more attacking threat. He'll probably score more goals from now until the end of the season, but he also costs 0.6 million more, which I need to think about as well. But I think apart from that, I'm fairly locked in. Is Foden good to start? I can never say anything about Pep, especially regarding Foden. Yeah, I think there's a good chance he starts. I mean, the thing is, you're not going to start Grealish, Foden, and Mahrez. One of them will be benched. And really, because I think Mahrez will start and Grealish has been fairly nailed, I think it will be Foden on the bench once again, even though he's been in great form. You just don't know with Pep. I could be wrong, and it could be Mahrez benched once again, and he's saved for the Champions League. Thoughts on Dan Burn? He's not bad. I think there's not much to separate all these Newcastle defenders, but I'd rather have Botman or Fabian Schär. If Potter's sacked, things can change very quickly. Yeah, I think if Chelsea lose against Leeds and get knocked out against Dortmund, I think he's gone. Backup goalkeeper for Raya except Kepa? I'd say Pope or Sanchez, even though Pope would technically not be backup. Emerson Real's a differential, Botman. I still prefer Botman, but Emerson Real's not bad. I'd rather go for Davis potentially, but Emerson's fine. Watkins, Akanji, Tarkowski, McNeil. Play 3 of them. The one I'd bench is probably McNeil. Yeah, it's between him and Tarkowski. So Martinelli for Saka -4 last week. To be fair, though, it's still a good move in the long term. It made sense why he did it back then. So, yeah, I wouldn't really have too many regrets. I know Martinelli hauled, but it is what it is. Will Ake start? I think so. Start me or Trippier? Me. Morris to Maddison, yeah, I think that's a good transfer. Is it risky to get 2 Newcastle defenders? Look, if you don't want 2 Newcastle defenders, you've got a few other options. Not many, admittedly, but you do have other options. You could even double up on Brentford defensively with Pinnacle Henry alongside me. But yeah, I like it. That's the reason why I'm going for it right now. I have had some debates about whether to go for Schär instead or maybe a Spurs defender, but I'm quite happy with it. Toney's yellow card situation is simple. 2 more yellows and he's suspended. And as for the FA one, there won't be a hearing for some time now. So any punishment would be afterwards. So I think he's safe for the time being. I would get him still, yeah. Is Pope coming back? Yes, he's going to come back very soon. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he misses the City game, then comes back. I'll have to double check that. Ward or Areola? Yeah, Areola's a decent choice that we haven't really mentioned. He's probably the 5th or 6th best goalkeeper to get, but I still prefer those 4 that I keep on mentioning. For this week, I'd probably still go for Areola, yeah. Start Trippier, Nunez or Mahrez? Mahrez. It's going to be a bit tricky, though. If he doesn't start, then there we go. Thank you, Jeff. Likewise, I hope you do really well. I have a transfer -4. Can I use the wildcard? Yeah, you can use the wildcard and it will take away the -4 you've taken, so you will not lose any points. But it's up to you. You don't need to wildcard. You know, it just depends on your situation, your future transfer plans as well, how that influences your bench boost or other chips later on. I'm going for Mitoma. Since Lloris is injured, Forster's a great option, right? He's a decent second goalkeeper for the next 6 game weeks, but with Brentford having a double in 29, also not blanking in 28, I'd rather go for 2 cheap goalkeepers, but not these kind of, you know, benchable options every week like Forster or Ward. I'd rather go for Ryan, Kepa, something like that, which I'm doing. Will Shaw play? I mean, Man United and Ten Hag have done this a lot, where they say a player's injured and, you know, they end up playing. They've done it for many years, and I think he will play, but I don't know enough about the injury to say for sure, but I think he will start. Maybe Maddison in, Odegaard out. Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm still going to go for Odegaard because I think he outscores Maddison in 26, and both would be benched in 27 anyway, and in 28, I'd probably rather have Odegaard as well. Estupinian. Henry's decent, but Estupinian is even better. Start Nonto or Bruno Fernandes. Still Bruno. Nonto's not a great FPL option for me. Considering Bowen, Benrahma instead of two Brighton midfielders, I'd go for Bowen in that case, but yeah, it's a tricky one. I'd still rather go for the double up in Brighton midfield. Ultimately, I will sell one of them for Maddison. Fairly locked in. There's a few things that could change, but it's very unlikely. I think I'm 80% locked in, pretty much. Isn't Zinchenko rotation risk for Toney? I don't think that will be the case. I think Toney will start in the Europa League and Zinchenko will start in the league. And either way, Zinchenko's to start in 26 and 28 and then probably sell in 29. Isn't Fabianski going to be fit for 29? I mean, the latest reports I've heard, it does indicate that he could be out for quite some time still. We don't have a definite timestamp in terms of when he's going to come back. So I wouldn't say that necessarily. Pick two in your opinion. You can see them on screen. I think McAllister's still decent, but the other two are better. Morning, Dylan. Start Kane or Rashford. I mean, don't bench any of them, honestly. Never bench Kane or Rashford. On current form, I would rather start Rashford, but no, I wouldn't bench any. I think I'm going to captain Saka. Yeah, I think a lot of us are. He's the most popular captaincy option in the poll I put out the other day. I think it was yesterday. What's your plan for Game Week 28 when City, Brighton and United blank? Very simple. Make 2 free transfers. Haaland out for Watkins and Maddison in for March or Mitoma. I have a full 11. It's not really a big deal. Davis will double Newcastle defence. I'm going for double Newcastle defence, but Davis is not bad. Is Saka good for captaincy? I mean, I guess so. I mean, otherwise, I wouldn't have him captain. Saka, Haaland or Rashford captain? Saka, probably the best one. It's a tough decision, but I think Saka first, Haaland second, Rashford third. It's a close one, though. Which other game week would you use Wildcard? If I didn't use it this week, I would probably use it in either 27 or I'd say 33. Yeah. And I think if I didn't use it this week, I probably would have held on and just stuck with that and go through 27, 28, 29 without using the wildcard and then using 33 and probably the free hit in 32 or 34, something like that. Thank you, Juega. Should I start March or Mitoma? You can see the answer on screen. It's completely up to you, though. Other than Kepa, which other second goalkeeper and wildcard? We've answered this already. Pope or Sanchez would be the ones. Ariel is not bad either, but I'd say Pope or Sanchez. No, it's not the last game to use wildcard. The way it works is you've got 2 wildcards per season. The first one you can use for the first half of the season. I think it's up until game week 19 or 18. And the second one you can use up until the end of the season. And I think this season, because of the World Cup, you could only use the wildcard up until game week 16. Then you had unlimited transfers in 17. And basically from 18 to the rest of the season, you can use it whenever you fancy. My advice with the wildcard is to at least, because I'm not a big fan of using the wildcard with like 2 or 3 game weeks to go. I don't think you really maximize the returns, the long-term gains of the wildcard. So I'd always recommend, maybe at the latest, using a wildcard in 33 or 34. Odegaard or Martinelli? Odegaard for me. Welcome. Better. Salah or Ferguson? Salah. I'm scared Karius will give City a lot of goals. Not necessarily, because it could be Dubravka starting in goal. Dubravka didn't start against United because he was a player of Man United this season. He's cup tied, so that's why Dubravka couldn't play. I think he's still a Man United player on loan, basically. Thank you, Omabek. I appreciate that. Haaland, Kane, selling anytime soon? Yeah, like I said, Haaland to Watkins in game week 28. I think that's what I'm looking to do. Martinelli, Odegaard. It's not a bad idea, but I'm going for Odegaard. Yes, I'm on wildcard. Welcome, Amir. Good to see you. Best punt for this game week? I think Maddison. You can see the answer on screen. Zinchenko or me? Zinchenko. Watkins now or in game week 28? I'd say in game week 28, but it's all circumstantial. I've seen some people talk about going without Haaland in game week 26 on the wild card. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I'm going to go for him because I think in 26 and 27 he does well. But I can see why people are just going for Watkins from the get-go. 29, and that was the plan without the wild card anyway. Sinchenko or me, already answered. Toney or Watkins, and me or Henry. Toney, just because of the double in 27, and then you can ultimately get Watkins in 28. And me or Henry, I've gone for Ben Mee. Sinchenko captaincy shout, I wouldn't go that far. Arsenal still haven't kept too many clean sheets at home, so I think that's a step too far. Already answered same. Toney or Watkins, considering the ban on Toney, it's not going to be something that's going to happen straight away. You know, this has been talked about for many months. Nothing's happened yet. So Toney for now, Watkins around 28, 29 onwards. Why Mitoma over March? I just have a gut feeling about him. It's really close to separate the two, and I think Mitoma will outscore March, but it's really close. I've said this, you know, throughout the whole stream. That could be one of the things I change, you know, from now until the end of the deadline. Yes, I will. That won't be an issue. I've already planned all my moves using FPL.team, and I would be able to afford Bruno and then Haaland back in Gameweek 30. Why Sinchenko over Gabriel? More bonus points per 90. Also, I think Sinchenko's been more impressive since the World Cup. Gabriel hasn't been that effective or hasn't offered too much goal threat for a long time. Having said that, in terms of who do I back to score more goals, it probably is Gabriel until the end of the season, but this is a punt for maybe 2 weeks, you know, for 26 and 28, probably bench in 27, sell in 29 anyway. I'm on the wild card and Pinch and free it. Pinch, or was it Pinnick? I don't even know. Should I start with you from now? And finally, thank you. Well, in terms of start from with you now, my guess, yeah, if you're saying to copy, I wouldn't recommend copying in general, but it's completely up to you. Davis plus Henry or me plus Botman? Me plus Botman, which is what I've gone for. It's up to you, though. You know, I don't think any of them are necessarily wrong. It's not much to separate them. A lot of these will be 50-50 on paper, but in the end, you know, there could be huge swings. I mean, we saw it last week with Van Dijk and Robertson. Things can happen. It's actually still valid. The only things that change is the second goalkeeper. I think Forster out for, you know, Raya basically, or Kepa. And you have those two goalkeepers. But I already have a triple up in Brentford. I had 2 Brighton players already. So not much has changed, actually. And this was recorded before the FA Cup games. Will Haaland still have effective ownership? Yes. His ownership is still over 80%. So, yeah, he still will. Hi, Dylan, play me or Darwin? Me, I think. Play Raya or Kepa? I'm going for Kepa. Which 2 to start with Martinelli, Odegaard and Mahrez? It'd be the Arsenal players. But if Mahrez starts, he has a good chance of a haul. White or Shaw to start? White. Is it still okay to wildcard this game week even though I don't have bench boost for 29? Yeah, look, if you're making 7-8 changes, or even more, then yeah, I think it's worth it. Solomon or Mitoma, Raya or Kepa. Solomon's been on a great goal scoring run, but still Mitoma. And Raya or Kepa, you can see the answer on screen. I've gone for Kepa. Will Estupinian start? I think so. He's been cleared to play by the Zerbi, who even last week said it's not a concern. He should be back fairly soon. Emi Martinez and Estupinian, or Sanchez and Chilwell. Probably Martinez and Estupinian, but I wouldn't recommend Martinez, to be honest. Tarkovsky or Shaw, who should I start? Probably Luke Shaw. Thoughts on Spurs players? Harry Kane's the best of a bad bunch. Then it's probably Davis or Emerson Real at the back line. That's it, really. Me or Estupinian? Estupinian. Mitoma or Maddison already have March. Still Mitoma. You can bring in Maddison in 28 anyway, potentially. So, best Brighton defender after Estupinian? Probably Dunk. Joao Felix for captain? No chance, honestly. Yeah, he might score, whatever, but I still think there'll be a lot of higher scorers this week. And honestly, with Chelsea, my prediction is probably 1-0 for that game. I don't see too many goals for them. They've scored 4 goals in the last 10 games. I just don't see a reason to captain a Chelsea attacker. Sanchez or Ward? Sanchez. Once again, any question involving Ward, you're going to know my answer. I'm not going to go for Ward. So, you know, unless it's Ward and a Southampton goalkeeper, I'm going to say the other one. I start Tarkovsky or Shaw and start McAllister or Nunez. I'd start Shaw and I would go for McAllister. High value team or save money for the long term? It just depends on what you're looking to do long term, because if you're looking to bring in Bruno Fernandes in game at 29, or, you know, make some premium moves and, you know, maybe add more premiums to your team, then it might make sense to save some money in the bank. But you also have to think about the next few weeks, and you don't want to set yourself short for 26, 27, and 28. So I'm not so sure what your team situation is, but ultimately, just go for the team you think is going to do the best, and you can go through it on a week-to-week basis, basically, as long as you have a clear plan. Hey, how are you? Thoughts on Maddison? Welcome, Albiasul. Yeah, I like Maddison. I'm going to bring him in probably in 28 or 29. My only concern with him is the injuries. Yeah, Davis is decent. I wouldn't say he's a great option, but he's been fairly good in the last few weeks. just because I think Me's a better option, quite simply. Yeah, I've used the wildcard. I didn't want to use it. I tried as much as possible to set out a plan using free transfers, taking hits, and it didn't look too bad, but I think this is the way to go for my team structure, unfortunately. Martinelli over Odegaard, will there be a placeholder for Bruno in 29? I mean, so the way I'm looking to go about it, because this has been asked quite a lot today, so let me go to fpl.team and show people very briefly. So in Gameweek 27, this is how my team would look like without making any transfers. I don't need to do anything. And also, this looks significantly better, I'd say, than what it would without the wild card. And I would also have to take a hit to get to a somewhat decent team. So this would be my team in 27. I think Botman, Odegaard, and Zinchenko would be benched. In Gameweek 28, this is what I'd go for. 2 free transfers, Maddison and Watkins in for either Mitoma or March, and also Erling Haaland. And I'd have 5.1 million in the bank, and that places me in good stead to possibly take a -4 hit in Gameweek 29, bring in Luke Shaw, and also Marcus Rashford. And it would be Luke Shaw coming in for Zinchenko, and also Bruno Fernandes coming in for Odegaard. So yes, the Arsenal midfielder would be a placeholder for Bruno Fernandes, and I would have 13 doublers here, and the 2 single gameweek players are Harry Kane and Bukayo Saka. So this looks like a really good bench boost team. And then in Gameweek 30, I can bring Haaland back in for Harry Kane, or I could maybe wait another week, whatever I want to do, if I want to keep Harry Kane as well. And it'd be Ivan Toney making way, and I'd have Harry Kane and Haaland up front with Ollie Watkins. So yeah, that's kind of something that I'm looking at for the next few weeks. It looks very solid, this plan, and I don't think much will change. But then again, you never know in football, suspensions, whatever it may be, injuries, and this plan might start to tumble a little bit. But I think it looks fairly solid, and only 1 hit maybe at the maximum. It's not even necessary. I might even decide to not go for Bruno Fernandes, and instead that will give me the funds already to have Harry Kane and Haaland in Gameweek 30 and beyond as well. So this looks pretty solid, I'd have to say. And in Gameweek 31, the same thing. I also have a solid base, no transfers here whatsoever. Gameweek 32, most likely I'll be looking to use the free hit. But if not, Gameweeks 34 or 37, 2 double Gameweeks is where I'd also consider using that chip as well. So let's go back to my team, and thank you to everyone who's been watching. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button. Let's try to get this stream to well over 100 likes, and then possibly beyond to 200, and let's try to get to 20,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, also hit the notification bell, all of that good stuff. Check the links in the description below for the Patreon, Discord server. Thank you to all the channel members as well. We got a new one today too, so thank you very much to all of you who have signed up and showed support to the channel. Emerson Real or Dean? Emerson Real. Estupinian to start or me? Estupinian. Emerson Real or Dean, yeah, we've covered. Will Mahrez start? I think so. I can't tell you for sure because, with Foden's recent form, Foden could play on the right, Grealish on the left, Haaland up front, but yeah, I think Mahrez will start. Rashford, Shaw, Andres Mikalenko start too. It would be Rashford. Don't bench Rashford, honestly. It doesn't matter if he's facing Liverpool. Rashford and probably Shaw, yeah. It's probably those 2, but Rashford definitely starts. There's no doubt about that one. Thank you, Sophia. It's a decent plan, of course. Unfortunately, my guess is that a lot of people are going to be doing the same thing in general because it looks like a very sensible and simple plan. But I think it places me in good stead for the rest of the season. And look, I have to say, yesterday I overthought it a lot because I was really trying to, not activate the wild card and see if I can do something else. But I think this is the best course of action for my team, so I'm not going to go against that. Play 3 out of Ake, White, Trent, and Trippier. So the one player I'd bench there is probably Trippier. Yeah. What's the difference between wildcard in 26 over 27? Yeah, to be fair, not a huge difference. I think one major advantage is the extra free transfer in Gameweek 28. And in my, I showed my transfer plans just now. I'm looking to use 2 free transfers in 28, which would then enable me to have March for Gameweek 27, his double, then sell him potentially for Maddison in 28, and also get Watkins in, who faces Bournemouth at home. So that's kind of the main advantage for me. But in Gameweek 27, the advantage would be more information, especially in regards to Ivan Toney. Is he going to get another yellow card and be on, the brink of a suspension? Is he going to get a FA suspension, which I don't think will be the case anytime soon? But you'll have more information, basically. And that also answers Karen's question. So if you got that, is there a Chelsea player worth taking a risk on? Apart from Kepa, probably Badiashile. I wouldn't go for any Chelsea attacker right now, to be quite frank. Saka or Haaland for captaincy. You can see on screen, I'm currently going for Saka, and I think I'll stick with that. Welcome, Akash. Good to see you. Start Tarkowski or Trent. It's a close one because I think originally I was going for Tarkowski over Robertson. I'd probably go for Trent, but it's really close. Hoping for all Brighton assets to blank this week. I don't really mind, to be fair. I think the main appeal for me with the Brighton assets is Gameweek 27 and 29. West Ham could be a tough cookie. I'd still back Brighton to win, but it might not be a comprehensive one. Yeah, I'm going for Zinchenko, but Gabriel's decent, and he's also more nailed on, more likely to score goals. But in terms of the attacking data since Gameweek 17, Zinchenko has been well clear. What if my team doesn't need a wildcard now? If he doesn't need it right now, and you think you can do really well in Gameweeks 26, 27, 28, and 29, you don't need to wildcard. It's as simple as that. I thought I could do well in the next few weeks with, maybe just a -4 hit, no wild card. But I have to say, when I was looking at it, I thought I'd get some red arrows there. And I need, because I've gotten 4 red arrows in a row, I need to start getting these green arrows and build some consistency, be ahead of the curve. And unfortunately, yes, a lot of people are going to be wildcarding this week from the active players, but yeah, I thought I'd be getting some red arrows, even if my plans seemed sound and I had some pretty decent coverage of all these game weeks. But look, if you don't think you need to wildcard and you're really happy with your team, don't wildcard. Whom to captain? I have Martinelli, Odegaard, and Toney. I'd go for Odegaard or Martinelli, and probably Odegaard is my preference. Welcome, Sport Cat. I'm not wildcarding, but doing it next week, so may as well use my free transfer this week. Who's the best defender to bring in? Not Arsenal. Good question. As a punt, it's a really good one because I'll be honest, I'm not backing that many clean sheets this week. So if we go through the fixtures, I think Man City have a decent chance against Newcastle, but I wouldn't necessarily advocate a Man City defender because there could be rotation. They don't have a high ceiling in general. So really, if I had to go for a punt, it's probably a Stupinian. Or I'd say maybe Badiashile or Mings. It's basically one of those 3 fixtures at 3 p.m. today, Aston Villa, Brighton or Chelsea, and either way, I'm not completely convinced of a clean sheet, so Estupinian would be my pick. Let me know your thoughts on that. Of course, a lot of people will be bringing him in anyway, but I think he's got the attacking potential. He's been so consistent recently, and I wouldn't let the injury put you off because he's going to be all clear to play, and I think he'll start. There's no reason for De Zerbi not to start him. Zinchenko for me is the standout, but Gabriel's also decent. It's just completely up to you. Yeah, Emerson Real is decent. He's worth consideration. And Spurs defenders, like I said, if I don't go for a double up in Newcastle, I probably would go for a Davis or even Emerson as my 5th defender. Toney better not let us down. Yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised. Toney's been very mixed bag for me. He's gotten some 9-pointers, a very fortunate one against Bournemouth, also a fortunate one against Arsenal because it should have been disallowed. And honestly, I would have rather he blanked in that game week. But yeah, he has been frustrating. I would back him to get some returns, though, for the next few weeks. I will be selling him, I think, in game week 30 or 31. Short or Trippier in the starting 11? That's a close one. I think I would favour... I think I'd favour Shaw. Really close, though. Do you see any shocking player will be on the bench this week? Shocking player? It's possible. From my squad, I think it's Stupinian. There's the odd chance he is. Just maybe a bit cynical there. Maybe one of Trossard or Martinelli as well, just because it's Bournemouth at home. And I wouldn't really advocate for Arsenal to rotate and stuff like that. But if Nketiah were to get a game, I think it could be here. So yeah, I'm not too sure about that, but maybe an Arsenal attacker that we all expected to start. Thought Areola, but worrying Fabianski is going to be fit. Yeah, I don't think Fabianski will be fit anytime soon, but it is obviously something to think about. And West Ham aren't great defensively, let me be honest. The double in 29 is great, but yeah, I'd rather go for one of those 4 goalkeepers I mentioned earlier. Start Toney or Mahrez, Trippier or Robertson, Tarkowski or Robertson. Thank you, Aaron, for the super chat. So Toney or Mahrez, I'd start Toney. Trippier or Robertson, I would go for... I think I'd go for Robertson. And Tarkowski or Robertson... Probably Robertson. It's a close one, though. I have to say, I'm not really expecting returns from any of them, the defenders. But yeah, that's probably what I'd go for in the end. Start Cucurella, Tarkowski, or Nico Williams. I don't think Cucurella starts, so it's probably Tarkowski. Welcome, Tech. Which defender would you pick not from Newcastle, Arsenal, Brentford, Brighton on wildcard if you had to choose? Chilwell, Castagna, Shaw, Aguerd, or anyone else? I would like Shaw, but not now in 29. So I would actually go for a Spurs defender. And then maybe Aston Villa. So I'd say Davis or Emerson Royale, actually. Like I said before with West Ham, I don't trust them to keep clean sheets with the fixtures coming up. And yeah, and I like the double in 29, I will admit, but that's really the only reason why I'd consider them. Chilwell, no chance of spending over 6 million or around 6 million on a defender from Chelsea. Castagna, no chance. Luke Shaw I'd like, but in Gameweek 29. So yeah, I'd go for Davis or Emerson Royale. I'd go for Toney. Top 3 worst defenses in the league right now. Good question. I'd say Bournemouth. Yeah, I think Bournemouth are in the bottom 3 for sure. Then it's a bit tricky because it changes week on week. That's a tough question, actually. Top 3 worst defenses. Oof, that's a good one. I have to think about that, I'll be honest. I have to think about that. I'm going to answer 1 or 2 more questions, and then I'm going to show you some different screens, such as predicted points. It could help you with your decision making, and a few other things as well. Is Trippier still a bonus points magnet? If he can get an attack and return or a clean sheet, then yes. I think even just a few weeks ago, I think it was against Liverpool, they lost 2-0 and Trippier was still quite close to getting bonus points. So yeah, the answer is definitely yes, but he needs something to go with it. Thank you, Tech. Let me know your thoughts on that, but I'd probably go for a Spurs defender. Start Iwobi or Kilman or Gakpo? Probably Gakpo, yeah. Odegaard or Martinelli? It's close, but I'm going for Odegaard. Maddison over Odegaard? Not right now. I'm getting Odegaard. I'm getting Maddison in 28, but not for Odegaard. Either way, Odegaard will be a sell in 29, I'd say. Gabriel Sinchenko. I'm going for Sinchenko, and I'm going for Odegaard. And thank you very much for that. I really like Maddison, I have to say, in Game Week 26, but Odegaard against Bournemouth, I think, has a higher ceiling. Bench boost 29. That's always been the plan throughout the whole week. Even last week, I discussed this in the team selection videos because March and Matoma are better, in my opinion. It's all subjective, but I think March and Matoma will get more FPL points. Surely Martinelli will continue starting down the middle. Yeah, I think he will, but my point is that if there was any week where there could be a bit of rotation for Arsenal in the Premier League, it would be now. This is a good opportunity to maybe rest players and then play a strong team in the Europa League. I think Martinelli will start. If there's any striker or forward that I think will be benched, it's Trossard for Nketiah. But honestly, I'd start the same team. Then you can take some players off. If you're 2-3-0 up by the 60th, 70th minute, then you can take some players off. A bit similar to how Arsenal went 2-0 up against Everton, took off Jorginho, who was ill, and brought on Partey at half-time. Maddison over Odegaard, I don't mind it, but I'm looking to bring in Maddison later on. Is Leeds bad defensively? I think they haven't been that bad defensively recently, but I think they will be under Javi Gracia. I think they will be. So yeah, I think Leeds could be bottom 3. Thank you, by the way, to Abhishek for becoming a differential, the second new member of this stream. Very much appreciate. The same goes to every single member that signed up. We had a new patron yesterday as well. So a big shout out goes to all of you that has been signing up and all the subscribers and everyone who's liked the video. Be sure to do that if you can. It really helps out the channel. Is Stupinian or me, says Ruben? I would go for Stupinian. Should I keep Martinelli? I'm wildcarding. This is where the psychology really plays a part, because if you've got Martinelli, you don't want to part with him. He just did you a great service in the last 3 game weeks when most people sold. I don't mind keeping Martinelli, but if I have to be honest with you, if I'm wildcarding, the 2 Arsenal midfielders I go for are Saka and Odegaard, and I'd probably put Martinelli just after Odegaard. It's really close, but looking at the Bournemouth fixture and Game Week 28, I would expect Odegaard to outscore Martinelli in those 2 game weeks. But if you look at the underlying numbers, who looks more threatening, and also this new Arsenal system, you could say, or the front line with Trossard and Martinelli, Martinelli does look better. So honestly, should I keep Martinelli? If you back him to do really well and outscore Odegaard, go for it. But I just look at it and I think Odegaard will outscore him. That's why I'm going for him myself. Yeah, Game Week 29 bench boost looks very simple. If you're not using the bench boost in 29, 34 is probably the next best time to use it, because that's the next biggest double game week, and it's also fairly soon as well. Just bear in mind that some teams that will double in 34 will blank in 32, most likely, such as Man United and Brighton. Would you start Felix or Mitoma? Bend me in for Bueno for a -4 so I can bench Shaw. Honestly, I'd start Shaw this week and then bring in Ben Mee next week. That's what I would have done without the wild card. Yeah, I think Maddison will start. There is a bit of a doubt, but I think he will. Start Trippier Walker. That is a good question. I think Man City are more likely to keep the clean sheet, but Trippier has such a high ceiling and so many avenues to points. Even scored in the reverse fixture this season. Sorry. So I'd probably go for Walker just for the clean sheet. Yeah, once again, that's fair enough. And I've already recommended the 4 goalkeepers to go for. Those are Raya, Kepa, Sanchez, and Pope. Those are the 4 best goalkeepers for me, with Pope probably being the second best. Mitoma, Emerson, or me start 2. Well, the player I'd bench from those 3 is Emerson. Mahrez and Walker to Stupinian and Saka from -8. Only way to bring in Saka. I think it is worth it, and those hits will pay off in the long term. Who would you start? Felix or Mitoma? Already answered. I think there'll be less minutes for Martinelli with European football. Yeah, that's also another concern I have. Like I said earlier with the Bournemouth game, I think Martinelli will start, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Nketiah came in for one of the attackers, probably Trossard, and Martinelli maybe came off a bit early in this game too, and maybe started in the Europa League, because Arsenal might still want to go strong in that competition, but the Premier League has to be the priority. I'm going for Odegaard, Jan. Yeah, Martinelli is more explosive. In recent weeks, yes, but overall, if you look at how many double-digit returns Odegaard has, I would maybe slightly disagree, but in recent weeks, you're definitely right. Hello, Raya plus Estupinian or Sanchez and Henry? Raya and Estupinian has the highest ceiling for me, so I'd go for that. I wouldn't say there's a huge difference, but I think Raya outscores Sanchez, and Estupinian versus Henry, I think Estupinian outscores Henry as well, so yeah, I think not a huge difference, but probably a substantial one, you know, enough to go for the first one, for sure. Is it okay to pick White instead of Gabriel Sinchenko? Yeah, I think so, Abhishek. I'll be honest, I do prefer Sinchenko, Gabriel, and the others, but it's really close because even just a few weeks ago, I would have said White is probably my second favourite or even favourite Arsenal defender. And him being subbed off early at times can actually benefit you. So, yeah. If it helps you for future transfer plans, enables you to bring Haaland back in 30 or bring in Bruno in 29, I would do it. Bring in Ben Mee or Estupinian. Estupinian this week. Crystal Palace assets thoughts. I covered it very briefly in the Wildcard video. The only Palace player I'd consider is a defender like Anderson. Either way, I wouldn't go anywhere near Palace assets, to be quite frank. A lot of draws, not enough points from all their assets, and yeah, even if Zaha's back very soon, I just wouldn't bring myself to get any of their assets in. I appreciate it, Jay. Saka or Haaland captain? I'm going for Saka, but Haaland's still decent. Is it a good strategy to wildcard in 29? There's different strategies to maybe wildcard in 29 or 27 or 28 and then use a free hit in one of the other weeks. I don't mind it. I think it's all team dependent. But I'll be honest, I would rather wildcard just before that and then bench boost in 29 if you still have it, John. I have both Maddison and Mitoma. Who to start? Probably Maddison. If Maddison starts, I would maybe back him with a fixture. Which squads have good doubles in 29? Man United is one of them. Brighton is another. Brentford's double isn't that great, to be quite frank with you. West Ham's double is fairly decent too. And anyone else? There's probably another one slipping my mind. So we'll go for the fixtures again very briefly because I'm probably forgetting someone really obvious. Chelsea's double is average. It's pretty decent. You know, 2 home games, and Aston Villa, you know, could be where the halls are at for the defenders. But yeah, it's pretty much West Ham, Man United. Yeah, I think they have the best double, and Brighton. Those are the 3 that have the best double, in my opinion. All right, so back to your questions and to my team. Let me know if you've got any disagreements, any maybe points of interest, any polls as well. I'm going to end this one, so thank you to everyone who voted. I'm going to let it get to 600 votes, then I'm going to end it. 68% of you are wildcarding in 26, which is quite mad. Botman or Burn? I'd go for Botman. Just a few reasons. I think Man City might be restricted a little bit in terms of how many goals they score. I think Arsenal score more against Bournemouth than Man City will. I could be wrong about that, of course. And yeah, with Haaland, I think also the early kickoff does play a part. Even Haaland hasn't, you know, been able to beat that curse. Kane and Toney, arguably good captaincy for this week. Yeah, they are good captaincy options, but I don't see their ceiling being higher than Saka, Odegaard, or Erling Haaland, as an example. I want to say it's a troll, though. Saka, in general, doesn't have a great ceiling, but I would back him to get a return this week. If he starts, I'd be very convinced about it. I think Saka can get a monster haul today. It's possible. Generally, he gets maybe 9 points maximum, but, you know, he got a 15 points early in the season against Liverpool. You know, one of those would be greatly appreciated, that's for sure. Thoughts on Watkins? I'm going to get him in very soon. I like him a lot, but I don't want to go without Haaland for the next 2 weeks. How much do you have now in the bank after this wildcard team? I should know this off by heart, so let me just check quickly. I've got 3.9 million in the bank. So yeah, I'll go through my plans once again, but first off, let's go for a few different screens. Starting off with a fixture ticker. So in terms of those at the top, we've got Brentford, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Southampton and Brighton. And you've got a few teams down at the bottom, you know, Liverpool, Man City in the bottom three. You've got Arsenal, Man United just below the mid-table as well. And obviously the blanks play a big part of that. Arsenal have no blanks, but then again, they have no doubles as well to think about. But that is the fixture ticker according to Fantasy Football Hub. Let me know your thoughts if you agree or disagree with any of these kind of selections. And now the one that might help you a lot is the predicted points. Harry Kane is top this week, which is quite mad. Odegaard second, Saka third, Haaland fourth. Ivan Toney fifth, with Martinelli just behind. You've got Salah, Felix, Gibbs White, and Rashford completing the top 10. Harry Kane, in first position. I'm actually quite surprised by that, but yeah, fair enough. I think he's one of the better captaincy options this week, one of the more underrated ones, but I don't know. I'm just not really feeling the captaincy on Harry Kane this week. I am, though, in Game Week 28. That is a different story entirely. Let's now go through to the price changes, and as you can see, Harry Kane, Raya, Saka, Watkins, Estupinian, Ben-Mee, Zinchenko, Martinelli, Rico Henry, all projected to go up in price tonight, if not in the coming days, that's for sure. And in terms of those going down in price, you've got Nketiah, Gakpo, Shaw, Almiron, White, Mitrovic, Nick Pope, and a few others as well, like Saliba. So some interesting picks in there too, but that is all covered. If you want any news about injuries, let me know and I'll give you the latest information provided in the press conferences. I can do that too. But now let's go through to a stats comparison of Odegaard versus Martinelli. And as you can see, Martinelli is superior in a lot of these metrics. And I have to say, some pretty impressive stats for someone who started off at 6 million and still only at 6.5. But yeah, in terms of goal contributions, Odegaard still, well, does he lead? No, he doesn't. They've got the exact same now. They've got the exact same goal contributions, and Martinelli you would back to score more goals from now until the end of the season. But in terms of minutes, in terms of bonus points, you would favour Odegaard in both of those respects as well. But let me know your thoughts on this one. Odegaard versus Martinelli. That could be a poll as well, which could help you in your transfer plans too. But yeah, all of that is covered. I'll leave this on for a few more seconds before going back to my team. I might even show you my transfer plans one more time for those of you that are new to the stream as well. Yeah, Kante coming back very soon. That could be a big plus, especially with a new manager. Start Tarkovsky or Dean? Dean. Why Zinchenko over Gabriel? More bonus points, especially in the last few weeks. More attacking threat. And yeah, if I could actually go through the stats as well. And that will also give you a good indication of why I've gone for Zinchenko. So yeah, let's go for that. We'll go for Zinchenko versus Gabriel Magalhaes. So there you go. As you can see, yeah, Gabriel scored more goals this season. And also, let's not forget, last campaign, Gabriel scored 5 goals, which is the most of any defender in FPL. But you look at all these numbers, and apart from XG and big chances, when you look at the creativity, the XGI, and key passes, I do think Zinchenko leads in a lot of these metrics. Of course, Zinchenko has played fewer games. So if you compare this since the World Cup, for example, in Game Week 17, so let's get into Game Week 17. So 11 games, quite a big sample size. 2 goal contributions for Zinchenko, and 0 for Gabriel. And also, Zinchenko's taken more shots, although Gabriel's had more inside the box. XG, Zinchenko's better. Expected assists, and also big chances, quite similar, although Gabriel does lead in that as well. But yeah, I have to say, since Zinchenko has come back from injury, since he's gotten a run of games, 90 minutes every single match, he has been superior offensively, and it has reflected in a lot of the returns recently. Apart from the Leicester game where Gabriel got a 9-pointer. So let me know your thoughts on this one. Bonus points, I think they're quite similar, but Zinchenko per 90 is superior as well. Let's now go back to my team, my wildcard squad for Game Week 26. And I'm also going to check another team quickly. Thank you, Amir. Subscribe with a legend if you get more points than me this week. Different players between you and me is me and Henry, and possibly March if you start him instead of Matoma. That's fair enough. You don't need to, Amir, but I appreciate that. And good luck. Hopefully you do really well. Hopefully we both do well. And let's see who scores more points. Yeah, I can see what you mean, Fionki. It is a bit frustrating that everyone's playing the wild card. I have 7 out of 11 starting players from most of the template drafts. However, no Brighton and only Toney from Brentford. Yeah, I think the main appeal, but you know, for wildcarding now, is to have one extra free transfer in 28, where you might want to get in a Maddison or Ollie Watkins as well, and enjoy Haaland's points in 27 and 26. And also you cover Game Week 29 and optimize that bench boost, which I'm looking to do myself. If you're not wildcarding now, I would say either Game Week 27 or maybe even 33, where you can wildcard out of all these doubles and blanks. Remember, we have a blank in Game Week 32 as well, where you might want a free hit as well, potentially. And you might have only one free transfer in Game Week 33 if you're free in 32. So maybe a wildcard in 33 could be really good for you. Thank you. It's a demon. I appreciate it. Botman or Emerson Real? I'm currently going for Botman. And look, I'll be honest, the main reason why I'm doing it is he has a double in 29, Emerson doesn't, and I'm looking to bench boost in 29, and that's why I'm going for Botman. He's also, I mean, they're similar price as well, to be fair, but I just trust Newcastle defensively a little bit more. Loki thinking about Felix as a differential pick over Kane. That's fair enough. I have to be honest, I can't bring myself to do that. There are 4 forwards I'd like to have in my team, and it would be Watkins alongside Haaland, Kane, and Ivan Toney. Play Mahrez or Trippier? Mahrez. Chilwell, good pick. Not for me. Like he's not bad. I'll be honest, he's not bad, but Chilwell doesn't have the attacking threat he did under Tuchel. Chelsea are a mess right now, and yes, they've got some great home fixtures coming up. You look at the next 3, for example, a good double as well, you could say, but I think there are better defenders. Yeah, I've got the wildcard active for Game Week 26, if that's what your question is. Ben Me or Rico Henry? Ben Me. Why is everyone wildcarding right now? To optimize the team for not only Game Week 26, but the doubles in 27 and 29, the blank in 28, and I'm looking to bench boost in 29, so I think I could really get a great bench boost team by wildcarding right now. Do I replace Mahrez? I'm on a -8 already. If yes, with who? I think, yeah, -12 would be way too much this week, I think. Unless you're bringing in Saka or someone like that, I don't think it's worth a hit. Mahrez or Matoma this week? It's a tough one. If Mahrez starts, I would slightly favour him, but that's the big question. Is he going to start? I wouldn't have that concern with Matoma, but I'd probably just say Mahrez, yeah. Start Kepa or Raya? I'm going for Kepa. Salah, Matoma, Shaw, Tarkowski, start 2. It would be Salah and Matoma. Will you make a video about chips? Potentially very soon, because obviously in recent days and in the last week we have covered it in the team selection video and also the wildcard video, but I can make a dedicated video for the chip strategy, especially for those of you that haven't wildcarded yet and are not going to use in 26, because it can give you something a bit different that can maybe get you ahead of the curve and also potentially get those green arrows over those that are wildcarding in 26. So I might consider that as well, yeah. If I'm able to, because I'll be honest, over the next week I'm going to be very busy and I've got a lot of UCL fantasy content to record over the weekend. I've already got a video ready for channel members and patrons. You can already watch it if you're already a member or patron. If that's already available, I'm going to try to release that later today or tomorrow for the public. But yeah, it's going to be difficult to make as much FPL content as possible for this week. After, it should be a bit better. And then, of course, like I said, at the end of the month, I will be going on holiday. I will try my very best to get streams and videos up for UCL Fantasy and FPL, but it might be difficult. Start me or Trippier? Me. Is Saka essential this week? He's as close to essential as you can get, I'd say, but you can do well without him. If you have Martinelli and Odegaard, I think that's already pretty fine. Matoma for me. This week, wildcard or save for Game Week 28. Already used a free hit. Yeah, I can see what you mean there. I just wildcard now because you can also optimize 27 and 29 and you can have an 11 out in 28. You might look at my team and think, oh, you've got 2 Brighton, or 3 Brighton, should I say, outfield players. You've got Rashford and Erling Haaland. How are you going to get an 11 out? It's quite simple. Just 2 free transfers, Haaland out for Watkins and Maddison in for a Brighton midfielder, and I've got a full 11. So yeah, I think wildcard now. Yeah, like I said, Kieran, that's all covered. So I've already got a Champions League video available for channel members and patrons. It'll be out for the public very soon. It's the best Limitless team. The best wildcard team. The best Limitless and team selection videos will be recorded very soon. Maybe just after this stream is done. That will be the plan. And then the deadline stream on Tuesday. So yes, there will be content. I will be very busy over the next week, but I'm going to try to get everything out as usual. When to use free hit? I'm looking at 32, but the other alternatives are 34 or 37 if you want to be aggressive and use it in a double game week. Saka, definitely, Harry. For me, Saka. Rashford captain or Saka? Saka. Mitoma or Martinelli for a -4? I'd rather have Mitoma just because he has a double in 27 and 29. Martinelli is better for 26, but yeah, you'd probably want to sell him in 29 anyway. Start Trent or Henry? Henry. Zinchenko, Stupinian or Henry? Zinchenko. Raya or Kepa? That's fair enough, but yeah, it's a tough one. I'd maybe back Chelsea just a little bit more for a clean sheet. Just a little bit more. Hello, Dylan. Nonto against Chelsea? No. As bad as Chelsea are, I still don't back Nonto to score assist. Let's wait and see how that ages. Bench 2, Perisic, Trent, Mings or Trippier? I would bench Perisic and Trippier. I think, yeah. Captain Saka or Rashford, already answered. I go for Saka. You can also see on screen as well. Can Toney play for the double because of the gambling? Don't think too much about this. We've covered it in the last few weeks and months, actually. This has been an issue for so long now. And look, I think there won't be punishment for several weeks or months from now. He should be safe up until game week 29-30, which is when you'd want to sell him. Don't know if a -8 for Saka and Stupinian is too much for this week. You asked this already, Adil, and I've said the same thing. I think it's fine. Just try not to take too many hits in general. Last game week, who'd you captain? Is it worth it? I captained Saka last week, and he got 15 points. It was decent, of course. I'm not expecting a 15-point from Saka this week, but he does have it in his locker. He's only done it, once this season in a single game week, and that was against Liverpool. But, yeah, I'm backing him to do well. Have you got free hit, triple captain or bench boost? It's the wildcard active this week. Triple captain I used in 22 on Rashford. He got me 20 points, 60 overall. Bench boost I'm going to use in 29 most likely, almost certainly. And as for the free hit, 32 is what I'm looking at, but 34 and 37 is also a possibility. Any other questions we have? When should I use my triple captain? So if you're not using a bench boost or any other chip in 29, I'd say that's a good chance. Using it on Rashford in 29 looks great. Rashford captaincy, I don't mind it, but he would be in my top 3 or 5 rather than top 1, like Saka and Haaland would be. It's quite close between those two, I'll be honest. Saka not playing that well. I'm not sure about not playing that well. I think against Everton, it wasn't a great performance, but he scored that all-important goal. And without that, maybe Arsenal would have drawn that game or lost. You just never know. I think that goal was so crucial. I see what you mean, but I think over the last 5 or 6 game weeks when Arsenal have been poor, Saka's the only player who consistently gives you a 7 out of 10 performance or above. You can't say the same about Odegaard or Martinelli or the others. And actually with Martinelli, a lot of the games recently where he's hauled, he's had a very poor first half, or he hasn't had a great overall performance, but he has got the goals, which is the most important thing. Last game, Ikuji captain. Like I said, I have captain Saka. Start midterm on March. You can see on screen Stupinian or Henry. I'd go for Stupinian. Shaw, me or Stupinian. I'd go for Stupinian. Thank you, Najmi. I appreciate it. What's the upside with wildcard in game week 33? With the wildcard 26 and free at 32, you have a lot of free transfers to plan until 33, right? I was only talking about those that are wildcarding this week, Andres. I'm wildcarding now, but it's different for everyone. Not everybody has to use it now just because it's really popular. The upside with wildcarding in 33 is because in game week 32, for those that are going to use the free hit potentially in that game week where they have a lot of blankers, you only have 1 free transfer in game week 33. But then with the wildcard, unlimited transfers, and you could basically have a really solid team up until the end of the season. I prefer you wildcarding now, but it might be different for some people who might be freeing in for sure in game week 32 and also have different plans and don't want to wildcard just yet. Henry or Ben Mee? It's been answered quite a lot of times. I'm going to go for it one more. Ben Mee, and I'm not going to go for that again. That team is 1.8 million over budget, says Pat Connolly. It actually isn't, mate. I mean, if it was 1.8 million over budget, I wouldn't even be on this screen because I wouldn't have been able to confirm this team. Maybe for you, your team budget is quite lower, but yeah, honestly, don't copy in general anyway. Should I wildcard this week or next week? Up to you, Yazid. I'd rather wildcard this week because you got an extra free transfer in 28. And then you can bring in Watkins and Maddison in 28, which would be very beneficial as well. Would Sanchez not make more sense over Raya? I've already got Kepa, though, in Game Week 28, so I don't need Robert Sanchez necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily need Robert Sanchez. And actually, an extra play in Game Week 28? I think I see what you mean, because obviously Sanchez blanks in 28, but you have one less outfield player from Brighton. That wouldn't be a concern, because I've got transfer plans already in place, and I think it's the best course of action for me. Yeah, he's been pretty impressive recently, and probably their best defender overall. Having said that, though, I'm bench boosting in 29. There's no double there for Spurs. They play Everton away in Game Week 29, and I'd rather go for Botman or another defender. Botman, Cheryl, Burn. If you can afford it, and to be fair, I can as well, I think Fabian Schär is the most likely to score goals, and he's probably marginally the best of the three. Botman, though, is the best value for money. And in terms of points per 90, I think he is actually the best of the three. So, yeah, it's quite close, but Botman or Schär. And if you have no concerns about budget in the future, bringing in Bruno and Haaland or whatever you want to do in the future, then Schär might be the best. Hey, Dylan, will you start Ferguson over Trippier? Yeah, I would. But I think Trossard played quite well. He did. Generally, I think in terms of attacking performances or overall performances, I think he's been the best in the last 4 or 5 game weeks. But he hasn't had the goal contributions. Very unlucky to have the goal disallowed against Leicester as well. Odegaard is my preference, Jay, but Martinelli is still fine, of course. Wanna be differential? Is it worth going without one of Kane or Toney for Iheanacho and Mbeumo or Watkins? I like all of those forwards you mentioned, especially Watkins and Iheanacho, but honestly, I'd still rather go for Kane and Toney. Either way, eventually you can bring in Watkins in Game Week 28 for Haaland, or in your case, maybe Harry Kane as well. Although I would not be getting rid of Harry Kane in Game Week 28. That would be more something for Game Week 29 onwards. But either way, Sudindra, Ivan Toney is someone to keep for the next 4 game weeks, basically, up until Game Week 30. Then afterwards, he's definitely sellable with the fixtures coming up for him. Wasting. Honestly, I wouldn't even have Cho in my team, let alone captain him, but let's see. It feels nice not to have 3 City players this game week, so you don't have to panic about the early league lineups. That is true. That is true. Honestly, I'd be very surprised if anyone wildcarding has anyone other than Haaland from the City ranks. Darwin or Watkins to play? Watkins. Maddison, I'm bringing him in probably in Game Week 28. Tarkowski or Trippier this week? I'd probably still go for Trippier. Shadow, the wildcard is unlimited transfers, and the reason why people are using it, such as myself, is to set your team up for Game Weeks 27 and 29, which are doubles, and also cover the blank in 28, and optimizing the bench boost in Game Week 29, which I'm looking to do, and setting yourself up for Game Weeks 30 and beyond. I've made plans for the next 6-7 game weeks with this wildcard, and it just makes sense for me, and it also avoids too many hits, which I probably would have done if I didn't wildcard to cover most of the key assets. How do you use a wildcard? Just make transfers. You make transfers, then you have an option to wildcard, you click it and then confirm, and that's how you wildcard. And it eliminates any hits you've taken already. Start Trippier or Tarkowski this week. I'd start Trippier. Foden or Maddison? Maddison. I will not buy into the Foden trap, to be quite frank. Yeah, Solomon's been in great form, but I still wouldn't go for him, to be honest, and Fulham have some poor fixtures coming up, and also blanks, which just don't make them appealing. Thank you, Sudindra. Nunez or Felix? Probably Felix this week. Should I buy Salah? If yes, who's the best replacement for him? Should I buy Salah and who to sell for him? I don't know who you have to give you a good answer for that, so it's difficult. But buying Salah right now, I'm not so sure. I'd rather buy Kane up front. I like Salah for the next 2, but then after, from 28 onwards, I think he's, I don't think you need him. James or Shaw, both potentially out. Yeah, that is true, but I think Shaw's more likely to start. I think James is probably a foregone conclusion. I don't think he starts at all. Is getting Martinelli over Odegaard acting on recency bias? I have thought about that when making the decision. I think that might play a part. Since the World Cup, remember when Odegaard was on absolute fire? Yeah, he was by far the better pick at that stage, but I think it's still close between them. There's a reason why only 2 points separate them, and Martinelli has played, I think, 35 minutes less than Odegaard all season, so there's literally nothing to separate the two. And I think they'll score a similar amount, maybe 200 plus points by the end of the season. I do prefer Odegaard, though, for the bonus points, and also the fixtures coming up. I think it suits Odegaard a little bit more. but it's really close. Sanchez and Raya, is that a better rotation? I actually think Kepa and Raya have a better fixture rotation, and also you have to bench one of those in Gameweek 27, and unless you're bench boosting, you're going to have a double Gameweek goalkeeper on your bench, which isn't ideal. Took a -32 by almost forgetting to press wildcard. Well, you've got plenty of time still, 33 minutes. Be sure to activate the wildcard and you'll be fine. Why March over McAllister? He's got a lot of double-digit returns since the World Cup. In the last, 7-8 game weeks, I think March has 3 or 4 double-digit returns. McAllister, I just don't really trust to get attacking returns, to be honest. Even early in the season when he was on fire, I was still very cautious on McAllister. I think March and Matoma are the best Brighton midfielders to go for. Start Kepa or Ward? Kepa. Once again, anything to do with Ward. Bye-bye. Chip strategy, wildcard now, bench boost 29, and free hit most likely in 32. Best Brentford defender? Ben Mee, in my opinion. Mings or Estupinian? Estupinian. Do you think Sanchez and Henry instead of Ryan Estupinian is worth it? Look, Diogo, I see what you mean there, but for me, the upside in Ryan Estupinian is higher, and you could easily get in Maddison, Watkins, or another blank Gameweek 28 player who maybe doubles in 29 as well, and it won't be an issue. So in my case, I've got 9 outfield players in Gameweek 28, but with 2 free transfers, I get 11, and I've also got a very good squad, probably the best I could make for Gameweek 28, which is almost as good as a free hit would be. So, yeah, I see what you mean, but I'd rather go for Raya Estupinian. Let me know what you think. Me for sure, yeah, and I would bring Shaw back in 29 if you can. Watkins for Darwin, yes, that's what I would have done if I didn't wildcard this week. Mahrez and Mitrovic, which bench? Mitrovic. That's fair enough, Bridgerton, but then again, you might have a lot of the same players on that wild card, but let's wait and see, of course. Why Ben Mee over Henry? More likely to score goals, and Ben Mee historically just very good from set pieces, and yeah, I like Rico Henry. I think he's my second favourite Brentford defender, but already got Raya. Ben Mee's there. I don't see a need to go for Rico Henry over Ben Mee. I'm thinking to start March over Rashford. I see what you mean there, but I just can't bring myself to bench a player of that form and quality of Rashford right now. Smith Rowe, no chance to get some game time. I think he'll come off the bench, but I think he'll start in the Europa League and just get maybe 30 minutes today. Yeah, I think that's what will happen. I would bench Tarkowski, John Paul, and thank you very much for the kind words. Is it worth starting Trippier at all? Potentially, but I'll be honest, I think City scored 2 goals, maybe even 3, against Newcastle. And with Trippier, you have to rely on an attacking return or something like that to get some points there. Ward or Kepa? You already know the answer to that question, mate. I'd go for Kepa, especially if you want a bench boost in 29. Is Kane essential? Not absolutely essential because he has no double, and you could also go for Watkins, who doubles in 29, doesn't blank in 28 with a great fixture against Bournemouth, but Kane is still my second favourite premium option, and that's why I'm going for him. But he's not essential. No Man City news, and honestly, I don't think it's really that important. Obviously, for non-wildcarders, for those with Mahrez, Ake, you want to know, but I don't know anything. I haven't seen anything just yet. Harry, this is all covered in the videos, but to kind of cover it very briefly, in Gameweeks 27 and 29, we have doubles. So in 27, we have Brentford, Brighton, Crystal Palace and Southampton doubling. In Gameweek 28, we have quite a lot of blankers, which include Man City, Man United, Brighton, and a few other teams as well. And that's why you really want to go for these Arsenal players, maybe Newcastle, Brentford as well, which helps you navigate this period. Gameweek 29, we have a lot of doublers. We've got 12 teams doubling. Arsenal don't double, though, and Man City don't, but you've got the likes of Man United, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Leicester. So many teams are doubling in 29, and Gameweeks 32 will be a huge blank game week, potentially. Well, when I say huge, not in terms of quantity, but in terms of the quality of players. So Man City are very likely to blank, Man United as well, Brighton too. So a free hit in 32 could be very palpable and also very reasonable too. I would say either Gameweek 27 or 33, Mickey, depending on your strategy. Kepa or Forster? Kepa. Mings or Henry? Henry, definitely. Obviously, this week is a debate, but in general, I'd rather have Rico Henry. Start Bruno or Andreas? Bruno. Start second and third bench order for this week. Okay, fair enough. I would start Estupinian, Pinnock second, Trippier third. Although Trippier third on the bench might not be the best, but he's second on my bench anyway, so it's not much of a difference. Captain, you can see on screen, I've gone for Saka. Wildcard 26 versus 27 if you have a decent starting squad this week. Honestly, I think it's just worth wildcarding now because you save that -4 hit, which could be big this week, and you also get an extra free transfer in 28. That is the big appeal of wildcarding now rather than in 27. A lot changed with the FA Cup fixtures this week with Southampton, Spurs all going out and having a fixture in 28, and also Brentford and Leicester. Tarkowski or Shaw or Trippier, start one. I would start Shaw. Odegaard or Martinelli, you can see the answer on screen. Why Raya over Sanchez? More points, more bonus, more saves. I just back Raya to do better. For everyone here, James 100% out this week. Yeah, exactly that way, Seng. And either way, just don't go for Reece James. Don't do it to yourself. Mitoma or McAllister to start up in my lineup. Mitoma for me. Start Shaw or Trippier, says Ozone. Shaw. I'll be honest, I'm not really backing a clean sheet for either or points, but sure. Benching me and starting Emerson and Mitoma, that's fair enough. I don't think that's too bad, but just bear in mind, with Emerson, he is facing Mitoma. In all likelihood, one of them will blank. I'd rather start me than Emerson, but it's up to you. 2 out of these 3, March, Mitoma, or McAllister. You can see it on screen, Jim. For me, March and Mitoma. McAllister, I was backing him a lot after the World Cup and the Zerbi's comments about him playing in a more advanced position, but that might change a little bit with the return of Welbeck as well. So I'd just rather go for March and Mitoma. One of Coleman, Shaw and Trippier. Despite the fixture, I'd go for Shaw. Saka and Odegaard or Saka and Martinelli? Saka and Odegaard. Can you explain how you get 11 in 28 with 2 transfers in your team? I can just show you, just to make it more simpler and easy to follow. So this is my team in Gameweek 27. So without transfers, I can roll it easy as that. In Gameweek 28, I'll have 2 free transfers and I will take out the likes of Haaland for Watkins, and I'll bring in Maddison for a Brighton midfielder. And then I have Kepa at home to Everton. I've got a double up in Newcastle defence, away to Nottingham Forest. I've got a triple up in Arsenal in Zinchenko, Saka and Odegaard. I've got 2 Brentford players, outfield ones in Ben Mee and Toney, starting in Gameweek 28. I've also got Maddison, one of my new signings, facing Brentford away. A bit of a clash, but still, Maddison's a great option. And Harry Kane as well as my captain, with Ollie Watkins facing Bournemouth at home, another of my signings. And that's a really solid team. It's probably as good as you can get. And if you were free hitting in 28, this would be very similar, in my opinion. There wouldn't be too much that I'm missing out on. Of course, you can let me know if you disagree. But yeah, that's how I would have 11. Very simple as that. 2 free transfers in Gameweek 29. If I wanted to bring in Bruno, I'd take a -4 hit and I'd have a very solid bench boost team with 13 doublers and Saka and Harry Kane as my single Gameweek options. Captain Gameweek 26. It's between Saka and Haaland for me, and I'm going for Saka. I'm pretty much confirmed. I said it all stream. There's a few things I've been thinking about, since yesterday and throughout the whole week in terms of 50-50 decisions. But yeah, I think everything's pretty settled. Team news doesn't affect me too much because I'm benching the Newcastle players, starting Haaland anyway, and I'm not going for any other City players. What's the primary advantage of double Newcastle defence over double Brighton? The primary advantage is the fact that Newcastle feature in 28 whilst Brighton don't, and also with Brighton, yes, they have a good fixture or good set of fixtures in 29, but you'd ultimately want to sell them after 30, from 30 onwards, whilst I'm more open to keeping Newcastle defenders until the end of the season, and also Newcastle have a better defence. So pretty much Gameweek 28 they feature, that is the huge reason, but I also provided a few others as well for you. Did you wildcard? Yes, I did. I made 7 changes on the wildcard. I'm not sure, Eric. I don't think so. I'm going to check now. Might as well check now and see if there's anything. And yeah, we'll see what's happening there too. By the way, thank you to everyone. We've got over, just around 200 viewers watching. If you haven't already, then you know what to do. Let me just get back to this screen as well, to my team. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's try to get this video to over 150 likes. I think we can do that. We're around 40 away, and we're making big progress towards 19,000 subscribers and beyond. So let's just keep on pushing. If you're new to the channel, if I've answered your question, anything like that, helped you with any dilemmas, then be sure to show your support in the live chat. In terms of the poll, Yep, this is well over now. We've got almost 900 votes, so thank you to everyone. 67% of you have gone for yes in terms of wildcarding this week, which is quite massive. If you want any other polls, let me know in the live chat. I'll put that out right now. And I'm also going to check Twitter very quickly and see if I've got anything to show you too. But yeah, we're around, what, 35 likes away from 150, so be sure to keep on smashing the like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. And in terms of subscribers, yeah, we are very close to 19,000, so let's just keep on pushing. We're literally one subscriber away from 18,200, so let's keep on pushing, and thank you to everyone who's already done so. So I'm checking Twitter now very briefly. Yeah, I don't see anything, to be honest. I don't see any team news. If I do see anything, I will let you know as soon as possible. And if you see anything, be sure to let me know in the live chat. Just be very careful with who you trust in terms of team news. And anyone that isn't unreliable, or anyone that is unreliable, should I say, be sure to block them or mute them. It really helps out. But yeah, nothing has come out just yet in terms of team news. So yeah, nothing has happened just yet. Yeah, Chelsea confirmed Reece James is unavailable for today's game. That's something that Wei Seng said earlier, and it's something that you could gather from Graham Potter's press conference yesterday anyway, but there you go. No other news as of yet. So yeah, going back to your questions. Are you not concerned about Zinchenko's minutes? Not really. He's been playing 90 minutes every single game, and I'm really starting him in 26 and 28 and selling him afterwards. Gabriel's the safer one, of course, but I'd rather go for Zinchenko. Watkins or Iheanacho for 28 and 29? Watkins. I think it's quite close, though. Maddison or Odegaard poll? Fair enough, I might do that. Mahrez out for who? Apart from an Arsenal midfielder, I would say Maddison or Mitoma. Or March. You know, one of those three. If you're not on a wild card, I think Mitoma or Maddison would be my preference. When to use triple captain, 29 looks really good, but you might consider using the bench boost or wild card there. If you're not using a chip, I'd say 29 on Rashford. Is Mings a good option on the wild card? He's decent. As a fifth option, yeah. I'll be honest, I don't trust Villa defensively, so I'm not going to go for it. Who would you bench between March, Maddison, Watkins and Kane? It would be March from those four. Why not switch Odegaard to Trossard? Honestly, for me, it doesn't make any sense because Trossard is actually the least likely to start from all those players in terms of Odegaard, Martinelli, Trossard and Saka. And Trossard also has the lowest ceiling. He's been getting a few assists. He's been very lively. Great performances overall. But Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka, all better for bonus points, all more likely to score goals at the moment. So yeah, Trossard for me is probably the worst of those lot, FPL-wise. I think in terms of overall performances, yes, he's been very impressive, but FPL-wise, I think the others are better. And also more nailed on, which is a big thing. I'm not so sure what he's saying. And also, I think Arsenal fans shouldn't be allergic to rotation and to squad depth. They really shouldn't. Tierney is a good player, a really good left-back, one of the better ones in the league. I'd keep him if possible. But in the summer, if his game time doesn't improve, then yeah, he might want to force a move or, you know, go to a team where he's going to start week in, week out, like Newcastle, which they've been linked to him quite a lot, actually. Yeah, already answered, Karen. Start 2 of Shaw, Trippier, Tarkowski. I would start Shaw and Trippier. If I wildcard this week, will my free transfer carry over? No. And you'll have one free transfer next week. Thank you, Ori. Yeah, I mean, everyone's team is pretty much similar at this point. Mitoma or McAllister? Mitoma for me. Do I stick with 0 transfers and keep Darwin or swap him for Toney in 27? I would swap him to Toney, but you could save that for 27. But ultimately, I would sell Darwin. That is for sure. Yeah, I'd say so. He got an assist against Everton. He scored as well against Aston Villa. With him, you mainly get assists for it, but he's been taking a lot of shots, especially since the World Cup. -4 hits for White to Zinchenko. I don't think that's worth it. Start Edison or Ward? Edison. Bench Akanji or Henry? I'd probably bench Henry. Bought Watkins, thinking of captaining him to make up for my red arrow. Do you think he might do good? I think he might do well, but not enough for a captaincy. I don't see a ceiling being higher than Saka, Odegaard, Haaland, and a few others, or Haaland. I think the Norwegians would maybe or correct me, should I say. Thoughts on Salah this week? I mean, he's been in great form, and Liverpool can get a result here, but I don't think his ceiling is that high. I don't see him getting double digits. And to be fair, you could say the same about Kane, but I'd say Kane is more likely to return. But yeah, Salah's not too bad, and I like him a lot for Gameweek 27. But beyond that, I think he's definitely expendable. Start Emerson Real or Henry? Henry. Barnes, I'd rather go for Maddison, to be quite frank. Bueno to Estupinian, Salah to Matoma, Grima to Toney. Looks pretty good, especially if it's only for a -4. I'm guessing that's a -8 though. Reasoning is because I'm bench boosting in 29 and I back Newcastle defensively, especially when everyone is back. Nick Pope as well, Bruno Guimaraes. So obviously keep a keen eye on all of those and also the injuries. But yeah, I think that's the key reason. You know, for example, if I want to go for Emerson Real or Davis, they face Everton away in 29, whilst Newcastle have a double. I'm looking to bench boost. And in all the other weeks, I've got enough defenders to field out in 11, in 26, 27, and 28, and have a lot of doublers in the process too. No, not essential. I think 1, I'd say, is maybe essential. Not 2, though. You could go for Maddison instead and do fine. Because Saka's got a great fixture. I think Bournemouth at home is much more favourable than Newcastle at home, and I could see Newcastle potentially frustrating Man City. I think Man City will win, but not by a huge margin, as they have done in years gone by. Start Fernandes or me? Fernandes. Bench Shaw, Henry. I would bench Shaw. Captain Kane. It's not a bad option. I think he's likely to return, but is he likely to get a huge return? Like a double-digit return? Not so sure about that. Mahrez or Martinelli? Martinelli. Is it okay to go with both Sanchez and Raya? It is okay, but just bear in mind, in 27, you're going to be benching one of them. Unless you're bench boosting, that might be a bit of a frustration there for you. Any chance of Zinchenko missing out anytime soon? A very slim one, but I don't think so. I think he starts 26, 27, and 28, to be honest. 50-50 between holding wildcard. Want to hold because I've been better set than others for the doubles, but struggling to see a downside. Latter season looks manageable. Yeah, I'm in a similar position to you. I could have done pretty well without the wildcard, with just a -4, -8 hit. But I also could see some red arrows, missing out some key options for the double gameweeks in 27 and 29. And I'm just really well set now for the rest of the season, in my opinion. So, yeah, I can see your dilemma, you know, and also maybe your head telling you, I don't need to wildcard, so maybe I should just save it. Why not Henry over me? Because me is more likely to score goals, and I just back Ben Mee to score more points in general. Ben Mee is one of the highest scoring defenders after all in FPL this season. Andreas or Mahrez, I'd go for Mahrez. Welcome Dixie, I'm thinking of bringing Sterling and Felix. No, honestly, I'm sorry. I like the idea of going different and going for different players, but Maddison himself is low owned. His ownership is around 5%. He is a differential. Watkins' ownership is less than 10%, I believe. I would still go for them. Sterling and Felix, unless you're absolutely convinced of a Chelsea comeback and them doing really well, fair enough. They've got some great home fixtures, but I just don't see it right now. I wouldn't go for their attackers. I think maybe one. What you could do is go for one of each. So go for Maddison and Felix, or Watkins and Sterling. But honestly, Watkins and Maddison look better for me. Maddison's fine. He's back now. He was ill against Arsenal. He's back now. I wouldn't have any concerns. Bench Matoma or Mahrez, and should I sell Mahrez? I would sell Mahrez, but you could keep him for one more week because I think he will start. Then again, you've got Foden in form. Grealish has been nailed on. He should start. So it's really between Foden and Mahrez for that third forward slot for Man City. Who starts on the right wing? It's tricky, but I think Mahrez will start. I could be completely wrong though. And ultimately, I would sell him. In terms of benching Matoma or Mahrez, if you are keeping Mahrez, I'd start him. It could be frustrating, but there you go. Let's wait and see what happens there. Is me worth the money over Henry Pinnock? I think so. It's a bit similar to Share against Botman. Although I'd say Botman versus Share is actually a bit closer. Henry's decent. Pinnock is also a mega differential, but I'd say me is worth it, yeah. Felix in for Gakpo. Felix is a forward in this game. Gakpo's a midfielder. So, yeah. In terms of Felix in for Gakpo, if that's a -4 hit as well, definitely not, honestly. And I'd rather go for other forwards. If not Maddison, Matoma, Arsenal, who would you choose? It'd be March. Yeah, it'd be Solly March or... yeah, looking at the other midfielders, apart from Rashford, who's kind of obvious, there's not that many that I'm, that's settled on right now. I'm looking to bring in Bruno, but that's in Gameweek 29. So yeah, the answer would be Solly March. March or Maddison for the bench? I'd bench March this week and start Maddison. Would you take Haaland out if the team news says he's benched? Well, yeah, I probably would, because I'm not going to captain him, I think, in Game Week 27. He's going to blank in 28, and I'm going to sell him in 28 anyway with my current plans. So if he's benched, I think that's what could change. And there could be quite a lot of... I mean, the website would crash if Haaland is benched, let's put it that way. Mars is benched, says Hitcham. Let me know where you got this news from. Why is everyone benching Raya? Yeah, that is true, but a double up in Brentford defence against Fulham at home, I'm not so sure of a clean sheet to do that. I'll be honest, I have considered going for Raya over Kepa. But I'm still backing Chelsea for a clean sheet despite no Thiago Silva. Who do you plan to bench next week? Odegaard, Zinchenko, and Botman. I think that's what I'm going to do. I covered it already in FPL.team earlier in the video, but yeah, I think that would be my bench. And also, it would be Kepa in goal as my bench goalkeeper. Rashford captain, fair enough. I'm not going to go for it, but good luck to you. Foden or Watkins? Watkins. Although Foden, it looks like he is starting. If Mars is benched, then... Let me just check that, though. I want to check that, see if there's a reliable source that said anything about the Man City news. Yeah, I haven't seen anything just yet, but if you see any links of a reliable source, put it in the live chat, and I will get to it straight away. Odegaard or Martinelli? I've gone for Odegaard. Achin, try not to spam the chat, otherwise your question won't be answered. Simple as that. Ruben says start 2 Trippier, Stupinian, Tarkowski. I would go for Stupinian and Trippier. No Brentford defender, so should I start Raya over Kepa? It's close, because in terms of clean sheet probability, I think Chelsea might be slightly more likely this week. It's close. I think I'd go for Kepa. Just about. I wouldn't go for Kulusevski, to be honest. I think the only Spurs players I'd go for are Kane and Davis or Emerson Real, which sounds crazy when you say it like that. Starting Matoma March, I mean, you can see the answer on screen anyway there. So yeah. Start 2 of Andreas, Tarkowski or Trippier. I'd go for Tarkowski and Trippier. Are you not worried about losing 0.5 million if you sell Haaland? I've got so much money in the bank with all the future moves planned that it's not a big issue, to be honest. And if it is for you, then what you could do is, instead of me, you could go for Rico Henry or Pinnock, stuff like that. But I'm actually not concerned. Maddison or Matoma? This week, I'd say Maddison. Who would I rather have? If I'm wildcarding, it'd be Matoma because of Game Week 27 as well, and also Game Week 29. But Maddison is someone I'm looking to bring in for Game Week 28, to be quite frank. No Foden, no Mahrez, says Zaid. Wow. Yeah, that's what I mean about Pep. I mean, for me, it was between one of those two to start, and neither of them are. Jesus Christ. Will Odegaard outscore Maddison by 4 points until Game Week 29? That's a good question. I'd say so. Now, look, my reasoning for going Odegaard over Maddison is because I'm going to bench Maddison or Odegaard in 27 anyway. In Game Week 28, I think it's very neck and neck between them, but I would probably back Odegaard to outscore him. And in Game Week 26, I think Odegaard does really well against Bournemouth. So, yeah, I'd say Odegaard does outscore Maddison by 4 points or more. But either way, I'd bench them in 27, and I'm bringing Maddison in for Game Week 28 anyway. I have 8 for blanks and 9 for double game weeks. Do I need to wildcard this week? You don't need to wildcard this week, but you also have to think about your transfer plans and what does the wildcard facilitate in terms of future moves. So, to give you an example, with a wildcard, I would not have 5 or 6 doublers in 27. I would also not have an optimal Game Week 28 squad, because it's not just about quantity, it's about the quality of players you have for the blanks, such as Game Week 28. And then for double Game Week 29, by wildcarding now, I'm now able to have the possibility of bringing in Luke Shaw and Fernandes for a bench boost team and have 13 doublers, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I didn't wildcard this week. So you have to think about these things, and also how you escape and enter the last period of the season, so Game Weeks 30 to 38. And the wildcard for my situation ticks so many boxes, so I ended up doing it. White, Zinchenko or Gabriel? I've gone for Zinchenko, but they're all pretty good. Yeah, White has been pretty decent, but I think Zinchenko and Gabriel are slightly better. Any leaks? Apparently Foden and Mahrez are benched, but I'm not sure where we're seeing this. Pinnock or Henry? Henry. What's the strong point of Stupinian? assists and bonus points. I think he's the most likely from any Brighton asset defensively. So yeah, start Matoma or March. I'm going for Matoma, but the algorithm does back March to score more points. Overlooking Maddison? Not really, because I'm going to bring him in Game Week 28 most likely. I would bring him in for March if I had to make one move and then start Maddison over Matoma, but I also want to maximize Game Week 27, and Maddison will be benched in Game Week 27 regardless. So I like Maddison a lot, I have to be honest. Against Southampton he can haul, but I'm happy to wait until Game Week 28 and also wait to see if he's going to be fit in time because he's so injury prone. Bench 1, it would be Gakpo. Is Maddison a viable option? Yes. I'm looking to bring him in Game Week 28. Yeah, I mean, it's not too much of a surprise, Valtea, but hopefully we both do well. That's going to be the main aim. What are your plans for Game Week 28? Watkins in for Haaland and Maddison in for March or Matoma. Things can change, but that's the current plan. Ben Mee is my preference, but Henry's fine. Sign me or roll transfer. Depends who you sell and if it's for a hit and what your situation is going forward. So it really depends. But is Ben Mee one of the better defenders this week? I'd say so. But Fulham are also a very informed team. Sanchez plus Gibbs White and... Sorry. Sanchez plus Gibbs White or Raya plus March. That's fair enough. I'd say Raya March. And you could always bench March in Game Week 28. But you also have the possibility of going to Maddison in Game Week 28 as well. I honestly prefer Ryan March, but they're both good duos. I want score to be taught 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Chelsea. Jesus, we're saying, what is it every single week? Doing these Chelsea jokes. Jesus. Would like to keep a Stupinian on wildcard, but fear he won't play the first game in 29. Yeah, that is a good point. I saw that as well. But then again, it is a friendly, and he might be rested for that and be called up to Brighton a bit earlier to make it in time. That is a good point with Estupinian, and that's why maybe going for Dunk is a bit safer, but I think Estupinian's ceiling is worth it. Ake, Trippier, Robertson, bench 1. It would be Trippier potentially. Very reluctantly, I have to add, because normally I'd start him. Is Kepa, White, Estupinian, Trippier, Salah, Saka, Odegaard, Matoma, Haaland, Darwin, Toney okay for this week? It is okay, but I think the -8 hit might be enough to give you a red arrow there, Adil. But it is a good team. My only concerns in terms of the starting 11 would be Trippier. I don't see him hauling this week, but then again, it is Trippier. The rest looks fine, though. Watkins or Joao Felix now on wildcard? Watkins, no doubt about it. Yeah, it'd be Watkins. If you're selling Haaland, how do you plan to bring him back? In Game Week 30, I can just bring him back for Harry Kane or for Ivan Toney. It's very simple there. If I don't bring in Bruno Fernandes in 29, I can literally do a straight swap from Toney to Erling Haaland in Game Week 30. So yeah, I wouldn't have any concerns about that, to be honest. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that, and I look forward to seeing you in the next streams as well. Start Trippier, Matoma, or Mahrez and Estupinian? Mahrez and Estupinian. Yeah, I see your dilemma there. Wow. Well, Mahrez is benched, apparently. If it is a reliable source, then I would just say Trippier, Matoma. Start me, Trent, or Tarkowski. Tarkowski would be last, so it's between me and Trent. I think me is more likely to keep a clean sheet, but Trent has the attacking potential. I'd probably go for me. Is Stupinian for Robertson? Yeah, looks good. More Chelsea jokes to come if Potter stays. Oh, God. -4 for Kane and Henry in, or just wildcard? What transfers are you making, Goldhead? What players you're bringing out for that, and what would you do in Game Week 27 and 28 if you don't wildcard this week? That would be my question. If you are going to wildcard in Game Week 27, Goldhead, I'd just wildcard now, save the hit, and put yourself up in good stead. Thank you, Tobago. I appreciate that very much, and big up South Africa. I appreciate that. Dixie says, Dylan, would you drop 0.4 on Saliba and bring in Zinchenko? I probably would. It's not a huge difference between them, but Zinchenko's been the most offensive of the Arsenal players. Can Bournemouth score? Yeah, they can. Will they? Hopefully not. That's going to be the aim. Who to start? Trippier, Stupinian, or Matoma? Matoma. Mara's bench confirmed. Thank you for that. I'm going to check it right now and see if I can confirm anything to any of you. But yeah, I appreciate that. So just give me a second. Be patient. So according to league lineups, Foden starts. And if that's the case, I would anticipate that Mahrez will be benched. So yeah, it looks like Foden does start, considering his recent form. That's fair enough. Let me actually see if there's anything on Twitter No, nothing on Twitter. If you see any links, if you've got a link at your disposal, just put it in the live chat and I'll see it. By the way, we're 4 minutes away from the deadline. So let's just recap through my team very quickly. Kepa Ward, you know the answer to that, Isaac. Kepa will definitely be the one. So I've currently gone for Kepa in goal, although there's definitely a debate to go for Raya instead. Ben Mee, Zinchenko, Stupinian as the back three. Rashford, Saka, Odegaard, Mitoma, midfield four. Kane, Toney, Haaland, as the front three, with March, Trippier and Botman on my bench. And the plan is to get an 11 out in 28 by just 2 free transfers, bringing in Maddison and Watkins. And also in Game Week 29, I could bring in 1 or 2 Man United players and have potentially 13 double game weekers and Saka and Harry Kane with just a -4 hit. But that's only just to bring in Fernandes. That is not completely necessary, to be quite frank. And then in Game Week 30, I'd bring in Erling Haaland back in. But yeah, that is a solid plan. And there's a few 50-50 decisions. Zinchenko versus Gabriel, Ben Mee versus Rico Henry. Maybe you could say McAllister instead of Mitoma or March. Also, Odegaard versus Martinelli. But I'm quite happy with this structure, and I think I'm going to stick with it. I'll be honest, though, I am very, very tempted by Martinelli in general. Are you happy with only 10 players playing in Game 28? I'm going to have 11 with the 2 free transfers I've got proposed and I've already got set up. So it won't be an issue. Your thoughts on Emerson Real? Doesn't double in 29, but obviously ticks a lot of boxes with no blank in 28, a good fixture as well. And look, if I didn't go for Botman, I think Emerson Real or Davis would be my 5th defender. And probably Davis would be my preference right now. No, not Barnes. I think Maddison's better, to be honest. Bench Rashford? No, I would not do that. How to differentiate yourself in the coming game weeks, everyone heading into Game Week 26 with the same team. I understand why it feels like that, but this is amongst active players or people on Twitter and YouTube. Not everyone will do this. A lot of casuals, a lot of people around you as well, believe it or not, will not have the exact same team. And not everyone will be bringing in Maddison or Watkins in Game Week 28 as well. So, yeah, I can see what you mean there. But honestly, I think this will be enough to give you some green arrows in the next few weeks. I do understand what you're saying. It is a bit frustrating as well. Mitoma or March? Mitoma. The algorithm does back March, but I prefer Mitoma. Martinelli for Odegaard? If I were to make a last-minute move, it would be that, but I think I'm going to stick with Odegaard. Iheanacho or Watkins? Watkins. I do like Iheanacho, though. Henry or Stupinian to start? Stupinian. Trossard, I think he's probably my least favourite FPL asset from the Arsenal forwards, to be quite frank. Thank you, Antonio. Good luck to you as well. Saka and Odegaard or Saka Martinelli? I'm gone for Odegaard and Saka. I answered your question already. It's up to you, Carlos. Mara's benched. Yep, it looks like it. We'll go through it after the deadline has passed because we've literally got 10 seconds left. Man City game prediction. I think Man City win, but not by a huge margin as they tend to do against Newcastle. Yeah, that's fair enough, Jay. Good luck to you. Thoughts on Odegaard captain? He got 16 points against Bournemouth last time out. I think he's a good captaincy option. He'd be 3rd or 4th in my list. No, because I don't trust Nottingham Forest defensively. But we are locked in. The wildcard is locked in for Game Week 26, and that is that. Trippier or Tarkowski bench? It would be Tarkowski. That also answers... Well, yeah, you spanned the question. Martinelli or Odegaard? I've gone for Odegaard, but Martinelli is fine as well. James or Tarkowski? Johnson or Tarkowski? This week, it would be Tarkowski. It's possible, JNS. So let's go through it now. Yeah... I see what you mean, Jay, because there's a lot of differences. You know, some people might have Sanchez instead of Raya. Some people might have Dunk or Rico Henry instead of the Brighton or Brentford defenders I have. But yes, in terms of people having triple Brentford, triple Brighton, triple Arsenal, 1 or 2 Newcastle, yeah, a lot of people have it, of course. Let me just check this quickly. See if we've got any news. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it was a video. That's why it was a video, and yeah, because I don't want to play it whilst we're streaming as well. I'm just going to listen to it very quickly and see. Okay. So yeah, Mahrez is bench. Yeah, we know that for sure. Okay, that was literally it. There was nothing Nothing special behind that video. Anything else? Yeah, but yeah, Foden starting wouldn't be a huge surprise with that all in mind. Brighton are blanking in a few weeks. Yeah, I know. I'm well set up for that situation anyway. I'm not too concerned. How many double game weeks do you have? Potentially up to 13. With a -4 here, I can bring in Bruno and Shaw in game week 29 and have 13 doublers and Saka and Kane for a bench boost. That looks really good on paper. If it doesn't go right, then I'm never going to nail the bench boost. I've gone for March over Matoma. That's fair enough. I think the algorithm does back him anyway. Not by much, but still by a substantial amount. Badiashile, Botman, or Emerson Real. Botman, in general, would be my preference. But for this week, it's definitely Badiashile. Thank you, Rajashari. Let's see what happens. What points are you roughly expecting this week? I'm always way off the mark whenever I predict my points, but I'd be quite happy with 70 or 80. I think that should be enough for a green arrow. Thank you, Cyril. Ciao for now as well. You're always in a nice location, aren't you? Enjoy Tenerife. Heading for a bocadillo and cafe. Well, enjoy. I'll be honest, Spain, not really my favourite in terms of cuisine, but obviously a great place to be in. Yeah, I'm not sure why, Soldier Boy. It's probably just to get engagement and stuff, and yeah, I just rather would have the text or the images, basically. Foden starting, yep. Foden is starting, but I still wouldn't go from an FPL. He might haul today, of course. He's a great option when he starts, but long term, I would not trust him. Once you use Wildcard, I've used it now, but if you haven't used it yet, I'd say 27 or 33 look really good. There is no right or wrong time, because for some people, 20 or 29 might be good even, but I'd say 27 or 33. Thank you, Tahir. Very much appreciate it. And to everyone else watching, AJ Twin says, started Kepa over Raya. Hopefully it pays off. Yeah, same here. Obviously, with Chelsea, you just can't really trust them too much, but I think they will get the result there. I'm the Pep Guardiola of FPL. Well, I'm not the best manager in the world or anything, that's for sure, but I appreciate that. Yeah, actually, Mikel Arteta is. No, I'm joking. He definitely isn't. Good luck and see you soon, says Weiseng. Thank you very much, Weiseng. Haaland does have a good record at home. Yeah, that's fair enough. And he was the closest to captaincy for me, but I've gone for Saka, backing my boys there, the Gunners. Let's see what happens there against Bournemouth. Thank you, Jay. Is Solomon an option right now? He's in great form, and that can't be ignored. But with Fulham, I don't know. It's difficult because they do blank very soon, and the fixtures aren't great, and there are so many different forwards and midfielders to go to. So, yeah, there's not a space for him in the team right now, especially on a wildcard. So, Singh, yeah, why is everyone wildcarding? Great question. As we've covered today, with this wildcard in 26, it sets you up well, obviously, for the doubles in 27 and 29, and also an optimal blank Game Week 28 team. And with 2 free transfers, I can bring in Maddison and Watkins in Game Week 28, have probably the best 11 I can in Game Week 28, and also have the best doublers for 27, and also up to 13 doublers in Game Week 29, and Harry Kane and Saka for my bench boost. So I optimized the bench boost chip. I also set myself up very well for the next 6 game weeks, and the maximum hits I have to take is probably a -4 at the very most. So anything more would probably be just to chase some more points and upside. So yeah, pretty much with a wild card, obviously it's all team dependent, but in my situation, having triple Liverpool and a few other issues as well to deal with, not having too many Brentford or Brighton players, and also maybe not the optimal triple up in Arsenal or a few other players here and there like Harry Kane, that's why I decided to wildcard in my own situation. I can't speak for everyone, but for my own situation, I think it made sense. Best time to triple captain except 29. 34, 37 would be major double game weeks where you could have another double opportunity, like I think Rashford in 34 could have a double as well. So yeah, I'd say 34 looks good. Thank you, Cohen. Good luck to you as well, B or BE. Everyone has the same team. Yeah, fair enough. But trust me, you'll realize once the game week is concluded and you see a green arrow, maybe I've jinxed it there, but yeah, once you see a green arrow, yeah, you'll notice it's not everyone having it. Honestly, no. I'd love Arsenal to win Europa and the Premier League, but I think Man United are the favourites for Europa League, to be quite frank. Arsenal aren't great in Europe. We all know this. They haven't won a European trophy since 1994, I think. It's been a long time coming, and I think Arsenal's focus will be on the league. Good luck, Nick N. Thank you very much. Since the beginning of the stream, you were here. Pickford, Rico Lewis, Ake, Trent, Martinelli captain, Odegaard, Rashford, Matoma, Toney, Kane, Haaland. Really good team. Surprised you didn't go for Saka, but looks really solid. Rico Lewis, I'm not sure if he starts, but either way, you've got decent options on the bench to come on if needed, and I like the captaincy option. Diogo says, went back on my decision on the last hour, ended up with Raya and Estupinian instead of Sanchez and me. I really wanted Estupinian. Yeah, that's fair enough. My only concern with Estupinian is, like Marco said earlier in this video, the fact that in Gameweek 29 with the international break, just 2 days after, I think, after Ecuador facing Curacao, a team like that, I can't remember, apologies if I got that wrong. I definitely got that wrong, by the way. Yeah, Stupinian will have a fixture in Gameweek 29, so he could miss the first game of that double game week. Thank you, Awali. I appreciate that. Team Gunners for title, hopefully. But it will be tricky, and I think Man City will be very consistent. Thank you, Adash. I apologize for that. I do try my best, but yeah, sometimes messages do get lost in translation. I'll probably swallow a -12 hit in 27, but save the wildcard. That's fair enough, Mr. Iceman. I think I've seen you in the recent videos saying that you're well set on wildcarding later in the season, such as in Gameweek 33. That's fine, and it's good to be different, and also to have your own ideas and to also have your own plans. If you think a wildcard isn't going to be that beneficial to you now, there's no need to use it. Didn't know Watkins is so expensive. Yeah, he's 7.3, isn't he? Or 7.4 now. I have my own style. No wildcard till next week. That's good, Gary. Hopefully it works out well for you. I put Salah on the bench. Good luck. Oof, yeah. If I had Salah, I'd start him, but it's not a great fixture. Sevilla always the favourites for Europa League. Yes, but I have to say Europa League this season. Sevilla this season have been awful. I think they're 14th in La Liga. Sampaoli, yeah, he's not a great manager, let's put it that way. I would know myself. If Sevilla were doing well in La Liga, they had some momentum and consistency and a good manager, I think Sevilla could win the Europa League, as they tend to do. But this season, I think Man United would be my favourites. Thank you, Wally. I appreciate that. I was very close to going Salah and Watkins instead of Haaland and Odegaard, but didn't have the guts for it. And decided to play the safe and boring game. But then again, though, if you back Salah and Watkins to outscore... Oh, sorry. If you back Haaland and Odegaard to outscore Salah and Watkins, then just go for the ones you think score more points. As simple as that. Yeah, Mahrez is not starting. Foden is, apparently. Cucurella to me. Standard transfer. That looks pretty good, Shepherd. I went for Toney and Trossard for Nketiah and Mahrez. Good luck, mate. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of Trossard in FPL. Look, he can do really well. He was unlucky not to get a mega haul against Leicester. But I think Martinelli, Odegaard and Saka are superior. That's fine. I was considering transferring him out in Gameweek 28 anyway. That looks good, Diogo. It does. What's up with F1, Dylan? Yeah, I can show you. No worries with that. I'll be honest, I would like to make F1 fantasy content, but especially this week, it is a complete mess. I've got UCL fantasy content to release. I've got a video already available for members and patrons. It will be out very soon for everyone. I've also got to record 2 more videos, including the Limitless and the team selection, the deadline stream on Tuesday. I've got all the videos as well. I've got a very busy week in general next week, early mornings, late, all the way up until 5, 6. So I'm going to be very busy, basically, and to also bring in F1 fantasy content, unfortunately just not able to, and there's not much of a demand for F1 compared to UCL fantasy or FPL. So I'm going to show you my team very quickly. Let me see. So I think I've got the F1. Oh yeah, so yeah, I did remove it here, I think. Let's see if I got it here. Nope. Yeah, okay, I'll show you here very quickly. I think they changed the website anyway, so let's see if this works. Yeah, that's fine, actually. That's fine. That looks pretty fine. They've changed the website a little bit more. But yeah, this is my 3 teams. As you can see, the names there, some F1 names, and also La Scaloneta. But yeah, these are my 3 teams. I think Red Bull and Aston Martin look really solid. Ferrari, of course, is still worth considering. So someone like Leclerc, Sainz or Ferrari is worth inclusion. They're in my 2nd and 3rd teams. But Sainz has been struggling in the first 2 practice sessions, and I think, yeah, Red Bull and Aston Martin are the way to go. The only issue is you're putting all your eggs in 2 baskets, and there's heavy consequences for DNFs and engine failures. So this could go tits up, of course. Guan Yu Zhou has been very impressive. In testing, he was 1st in one of those sessions, and also some good positions, I think 8th and 9th in FP1 and FP2. So I'm pretty settled on this. I'm going to see what happens in FP3 before finalizing my team. I think Verstappen will be my turbo driver, or I think it's called the DRS now, the captain. in. But if not, Alonso could be my differential kind of punt there. He's been really impressive. Second in FP1, first in FP2, and it'll be great to see an Alonso and Verstappen title race. But let me know if any of you play F1 Fantasy. We can go through this as well very briefly. AJ Twin says, bought in Watkins for Nketiah. Yeah, it looks very sensible. I think that's a great transfer. Liverpool comeback versus Madrid is possible, but I don't see it happening. Madrid are the kings of Europe. I don't see them losing by 3 goals or more at home. If Liverpool score 2 or 3, Madrid will probably score the same amount as well. I just don't see Madrid not scoring in that game. And if they do, Liverpool need to score 4 or 5, and that just becomes really difficult. Noah says, Captain Martinelli, good luck, mate. Honestly, even if I don't have Martinelli and it could cost me, I hope it goes well for you. 352 for me says, without malice. Good stuff. I think you have a crazy week on La Liga Sorare, says Amir. Oh, you've checked out my team. That's fair enough. I can show you very quickly what I've gone up there. I've given up on Sorare. I keep forgetting to change it. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, to be honest, there's so many fantasy games. UCL Fantasy, F1 Fantasy, FPL, Sorare. If you play Sky Fantasy Football, I get what you mean there. Well, no Sopranos team name. Yeah, to be fair, I've watched Sopranos now many months ago. I finished it back in August. But yeah, still my favourite show of all time. Nicholas says, I have both Rashford and Salah in my team. Surely one of them scores. I'd say so. Most likely Rashford, but Salah's been in great form too. Tots up, says Well Malice, yeah. 2 heavy drivers or only 1? I'd say only 1. I haven't made a league, to be honest, but I could make one now, to be quite frank. Why not? Yeah, let's just make a league, and anyone who wants to join, be my guest. I'm going to put the league in the Discord server as well. So let's create a league. Classic private league, yeah. Enter league name. We'll call it Dylan RCM, yeah. Maximum teams. What is this? Oh, yeah, unlimited participants, yeah. Number of teams per user. Yeah, you can have 3 if you wish. Yeah, so be it. Yeah, so let me know quickly. Do you want to see 1 or 3 teams? Do you want to be allowed to have 3 teams? I'm probably going to go 3. You follow La Liga on and off. Not as much as I used to be honest, when it was in its prime, but I do follow a little bit. UCL is what I'm good at, Dylan. Fair enough, Gary. Free hit 28 so far. I'm looking to use the free in 32, but a free in 28 could be viable, but with the wildcard in 26, it makes no sense to free hit in 28. What do you recommend I do after next week, after I took a -8 this week? I mean, you don't need to wildcard in 27, especially if you're well set up for 27, 28, 29. But yeah, it's difficult because I don't know your team Adil, to be quite frank. Well, I don't remember everything you've put. I didn't watch any FPL content this week, and yesterday I found that everyone's wildcarding. Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't watched any FPL content in months, let alone this week, and I'm not surprised that most people are wildcarding this week. I think the FA Cup results just really lend towards that wildcard in 26 because it optimizes all these doubles and blanks and navigating them with ease. Twister Park, I answered your question earlier. I've got 11 playing in 28. With 2 free transfers, I can get Maddison and Watkins, and I've got a full 11, so I'm not concerned about that. Best week to free hit? I'd say 32 for a lot of people, but some alternatives would be 34 or 37. Yeah, thank you, Soldier Boy. I appreciate that. But yeah, with F1 Fantasy, like I said, what's it called? Yeah, not enough demand, basically. I lost track of what I was going to say. So Classic Private League, I think it is. Yeah, that looks fine. Was it private? Probably anyone can join, no limits. Public League. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm deliberating on this one, by the way. Classic Private League or Public League. I mean, yeah, anyone can join, no limits. Only with an invite. Public League. Should we make it public? Let me know your thoughts there. Fair enough, Rokuga. I might go for 1. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I'm a bit perplexed why they have 3. It's a bit similar to Sky Fantasy Football. Next best time to wildcard now. I'd say Gameweek 27 or 33. Would be crazy if Man United win the FPL from nowhere. I hope not, to be honest. I'll be quite frank with you, I hope not. I'd rather City win it, but yeah, for me, this is Arsenal's chance, their moment. Hopefully they do it, but yeah, hopefully Man United don't. Watkins to Haaland in 28 and getting back in 30 for Kane, that's exactly what I'm looking to do, Diogo. I like that. Yeah, that's fair enough, A and B. I was just looking at the public or classic private league, which, to be honest, I'm not sure what difference it really makes. But yeah, I think we'll just go for this. So yeah, 1, and we'll go for, yeah, we'll just do that. And let's see. Oh yeah, you can select one of these teams. Okay, that's weird. Okay, so we'll select this one. Team 1. And here we go. So this is the league code. So be sure to join. Let's put it on screen here. So this is the league code for F1 Fantasy. And I'm going to put the link as well. So just use this link to join. I'm going to put in the live chat, and it's very, very simple there. I think in Wildcard Fantasy you had a private league. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think in FPL as well. I just create private leagues. I don't even know why that even put me off. But yeah, be sure to join my league. Dylan RC, I'm going to put in the Discord server and also as a post on YouTube and on Twitter, just to get as many people joining as possible. But most likely I'm not going to be making F1 Fantasy content this year. You never know. Maybe at one point I will. But I said, I think there's still a lot of room for improvement in the game, and also more room for growth, and for more people to be interested in content on a daily basis as well. I think maybe the nature of the game doesn't really facilitate for a lot of mass appeal in terms of videos and stuff, but you never know. One day it could be a big thing. I did make some videos last year, and it was fun, of course. But yeah, like I said, maybe one day we can continue where we left off. In terms of Sorare, by the way, for any of you who do play that, let me see if this can actually load up. That'd be great. Yeah, this is my team for the Premier League. So let me know your thoughts, although this is for next week, I think, not even this week, because we've got Jose Sarr away to Newcastle. Of course, Newcastle play Man City now. I've got Botman and Bukayo Saka, who's facing Fulham away, and I've got Rashford and Erling Haaland. So that is my team, and I've got Rashford as my captain. So if you want to sign up for Sorare, be sure to use the link in the description below, and it's using my link as well, so it does help me out, and it helps you out too. You don't have to spend any money to get started. You can start with basic teams. They're called amateur teams for the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Ligue 1, all of these, and you're going to have a lot of fun. You know, it's a very different because in terms of the prices, they are determined by the average points of the last 15 games. So it does keep you on your toes, and you can make 2 free transfers per week, but it is a bit of fun. And if you haven't, made your team, be sure to do it for next week as well. Twister Parky, once again, I answered your question 2 or 3 times, so I'm not going to go through that again. So is Toney going to get the ban or not? Eventually he might get a ban, but I don't see him getting a ban now. I think he'll be safe for the time being. Private invitation, exclusive public, anyone can join. Yeah, it's just, I was wondering, should I make it public even? I think I can change it after anyway. Thoughts on Firmino leaving? I think it's about time, because he hasn't really been... Well, his level's definitely dropped, and I think if he stayed for any longer, I think Liverpool fans would maybe grow a bit frustrated with him, and things could turn a little bit sour. No, not for me. Arsenal double up defensively. I can see what you mean there, but it doesn't really make sense for me. That would either limit me in 27 or 29 with doublers, and also I'd want to get rid of them anyway. I'm looking to get rid of Zinchenko in 29 for someone like Luke Shaw. It doesn't really make sense for me to go for a double up. Thank you, Ori. I was never really into F1, but love cars and racing, so it'd be fun to build a team. That's fair enough. F1 had maybe a decade of mediocrity where it was quite poor to watch, but I think recently it has maybe improved a little bit. Obviously, we've got the new generation coming into the fore as well. Hopefully this year's great with an Alonso Verstappen title race, and whoever else can be added, like Leclerc, Hamilton, it'd be even more welcome. Can you start F1 Fantasy after week 1? Well, you can, but you would be setting yourself up short a little bit. I did. I saw the goal by Vecino. Yeah, I mean, it's typical. I was backing Napoli to win that game, and as soon as I do, they lose. But look, Napoli have been great all season. Every team has a blip. I started March over Maddison. That's fair enough. I would have started Maddison this week, but I can see what you mean there. F1 Fantasy deadline stream, says Rokugu. Maybe at one point, but... yeah, I don't think so. Netflix changed F1. Yeah, we've got a lot of casual fans now, and it is a bit toxic. But yeah, I have to say, I watched a bit of the Netflix series. There's some good moments, but it's pretty poor. It's just fabricated drama. Diogo says, good luck for this week because our teams are exactly the same. That's fair enough. Instead of me, I have Henry, but yeah, it's pretty much the same. Well, hopefully Henry assists me and then me assists Henry, but yeah, that's asking for too much. Good luck, Diogo. Thank you very much. Oke says, 3 teams. Fair enough. For the league, I put 1. Then again, I'll put a poll out and see what most people think, but I put 1 for now. I still have Salah. Is it safe to keep him? Yeah, it's safe to keep him for the next 2. He's got a double in 29 as well. I think the Chelsea fixture's decent, but the Man City one is enough to put you off. Lazio always does this. They beat big teams and lose to small ones. Yeah. I think they did beat a small team recently, but I get what you mean. Lazio are second now, although if Juventus didn't get that 15-point ban or deduction, they would be second themselves. I have to say, I started supporting Liverpool partly because of Firmino and other players. He's my favourite player and most important piece of Liverpool past years. Very sad to see him go. Yeah, I'll be honest, I like the way he plays. Got a lot of flair, and I think he was integral to that front three. Everyone says Mane, but I think Firmino was the gel there between Salah, Mane, and also the midfield. He was great. He's a unique player as well, a dying breed, you could say. Are you going to do a UCL live stream? Yes, on Tuesday. That is the plan. I'll be very busy, like I said, all week, but I will do my absolute best to go live as early as possible on Tuesday, preferably from 6 p.m. UK time all the way up until the first game. And the plan is to release the wildcard video very soon, either today or tomorrow, and also the limitless and team selection videos on Sunday and Monday. So keep an eye out for all the UCL fantasy content as well. Ori says I wish him the best, and maybe it's time for him and us to move on, but really sad because it was the first and most important piece of the Klopp era. Yeah, I agree. There was many important signings for Liverpool, like Klopp. Well, he was important, of course, but Alisson, Van Dijk, of course, Salah himself, Sadio Mane, but I think Firmino might be one of the most important ones, maybe even the most important, as you say, as well. So let's put this link up here in the live chat. So what you see on screen is Sorare. I've discussed it already. It's an innovative fantasy game. If you haven't already, click that link and be sure to sign up. You don't have to spend any money to get started, and you will enjoy it for sure. But let's go back to my FPL team. For those of you that aren't aware, I did wildcard this week, and that is my final team. Twister Parky, once again, I have gone through that. I don't know how many times I have to go through that. I'm making an F1 Fantasy League this year. If you scroll up a little bit more, I have put the league code and a link to join. So if this live chat doesn't freeze, which is freezing right now for some reason, I will try to go through it. But yeah, unfortunately, my live chat is literally just frozen, which has never happened before. Yeah, I'm going to have to wait a little bit until it kind of comes back up. But yeah, that is a bit frustrating. All right, I'm going to have to open up the live chat again very quickly, so give me a second. All right. Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up very soon anyway, but just want to go through some last few questions. All right, I think that's done. All right, and new overlay. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's see the questions we didn't go through. What do you think of Kvaratskhelia, and where do you see him in the Premier League? I'd see him at Man City or maybe even Liverpool. I know he's been linked to Chelsea, but yeah, I think he's been fantastic this season. One of the best wingers in the world, and he's exciting to watch. I definitely like watching him in Champions League. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. I'll be making some more content very soon. Mara's replacement, Mitoma and Maddison make sense, and in 27, I think March as well. How far ahead do you usually plan an FPL? Well, recently, if you check all my team selection videos, I always make a case or an aim to show the next 3 or 4 weeks at least. So I try to look ahead. Obviously, I'm not going to look ahead 10 game weeks from now. I like to have a decent idea of what's to happen in the far future, but I'm not going to be too bogged down in all the details because otherwise you're going to miss the points in front of you as well. But yeah, I do like to plan ahead and maybe look ahead to the next 3, 4, even 5 game weeks too. Klopp needs to let a lot of these players go. How Milner and Henderson still starting midfield is hilarious. Yeah, but also maybe his hands are tied behind his back with the board as well. You have to think about that. And also the people put in place in terms of sorting out transfers. Yeah, I agree, Ori. Like I said, Firmino was integral to the attack, and you know, most people say Salah's the best of the front three or Mane, but Firmino's arguably the most important. Did you watch the Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen disaster class? Yeah, but that wouldn't concern me too much in UCL Fantasy. They've been so consistent all season. Osimhen hit the crossbar as well before a goal, I think, was disallowed, or before there was a foul called in that game. I wouldn't have too many concerns. Yeah, the deadline has... for Sorare, I think it has... Yeah, for Gameweek 26, it's definitely passed. For the games this week, I think it passed a few days ago, actually. So yeah, it has passed. Do you think players like Salah, De Bruyne are going to cause headaches over the next few weeks? You can't have everyone. Oh yeah, honestly, you can't have everyone. And honestly, I wouldn't be that fussed about it. Salah with the double in 29, yes, he'd be maybe a bit more of a concern. And the fixture against Bournemouth in 27. He has a great record against Bournemouth, by the way, but yeah, otherwise, not really. Who do you think will win the Conference League? Yeah, Villarreal obviously won the Europa League a few years back. I don't think West Ham will win Europa League, especially with their Premier League form this season. I think Lazio looked the best of those three teams. I don't really support a team to win Champions League, but I think Napoli. The only downside to that is that it maybe reduces Arteta's appeal or chances of winning Manager of the Year, which I'd like to see at one point. But yeah, I think Napoli would be my favourite. Someone new, you know, not an oil team or whatever you want to say, and also a very exciting team to watch. I don't think they'll win it, though. It will turn Kvaratskhelia to a backstick robot. Well, that's fair enough. I don't think so. I think with Kvaratskhelia, there's a bit more to his game as well, with his flair. But yeah, I think he could maybe add more goals to his game. How many points are you hoping to come end of the season? It's difficult to say. 2,300, 2,400, maybe even more. 2,500 would be great. Around that, it's tough to kind of gauge how many points we're going to get, basically. But thank you to everyone for watching this video. It's been a pleasure talking to you for the last, 2 hours, 30 minutes. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's try to get this stream to as many likes as possible. If we haven't got it to 150 likes already, let's be sure to do so before we wrap up. And let's also get as close as possible to 19k, and check the links in the description below for the Discord server, the Twitter and Instagram, the Patreon, the channel memberships. Thank you to all the channel members who have signed up today. That's massively appreciated, and the new patrons who signed up yesterday. And also be sure to sign up with Sorare, which we showed you earlier as well. I've made my team as well with the likes of Rashford, Haaland, Saka, I think Kilman as well, and Jose Sarr. Yeah, I think that was my team, and my captain is on Rashford for that week, which is for the Gameweek 27 fixtures. But thank you to everyone for signing up. It's greatly appreciated. I also put out the link for F1 Fantasy. I'm going to do it one more time before we wrap up as well. So let's actually show you this classic league. Let's share it here. So just click this link if you do play F1 Fantasy and sign up. And it's very fun. You know, another fantasy game is very different to anything else you've seen. Yeah, Benfica is a good shout. And actually on the wildcard, a bit of a spoiler alert, I've gone for a triple up in Benfica. Well, actually a quadruple up. And honestly, yeah, I think on the Limitless, the same thing can be said there as well. Thank you, Soldier Boy. And Jay, thank you very much. I went Martinelli to save cash, but switched back to Odegaard because of Europe, and players coming back may mean less minutes for Martinelli. Yeah, same here. And also, I think the fixtures might favour Odegaard a little bit more than Martinelli. Thank you, AJ Twim. I appreciate that. My favourite player, probably Messi, a bit boring, but that is the honest answer. Thank you to everyone for watching. I will try to have a reaction stream very soon, maybe tomorrow, and also release more UCL Fantasy videos. Keep an eye out for the best wildcard team for Matchday 8 in UCL Fantasy, the best Limitless team, the team selection, and of course the deadline stream for UCL Fantasy on the Tuesday. So much content is headed your way very soon. I appreciate everyone who stopped by today. I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 26 and beyond, and I'll see you next time.